Chapter 149. It silently pierced through the entire street and stopped at the end of the street. The battle of the long street. Phylan's star was shaken. What are you laughing at? Tang Tian turned his head, a look of confusion on his face. Did you see that? Hey, grow up, grow up. But Tang Tian's next sentence immediately dismissed it. All right, you can go to the side and enjoy your feast. With the support of 3 top-notch martial artists, the Gu family's prestige would reach a peak, and Gu Shui had the recessive snow rainbow blood meridians, and the possibility of her descendants having the snow rainbow blood meridians was extremely high. The next patriarch would bring the snow rainbow blade back to the Gu family. Bing's hoarse shout echoed in the sky, among the countless roars and roars. It was so lonely. In Tang Tian's vision, there was only a strange cross formed by green vertical and red horizontal intersecting. Tang Tian's eyesight was astonishing. He could clearly see that the saber-toothed tiger's body was charging at high speed, but it still maintained an astonishing stability, as straight as a spear. Suddenly he was shocked. That was idiot. Ling Su could not stand it anymore. He rolled his eyes, carried his silver spear and walked straight out. Behind him, the entire street was like a huge blood vessel that had been cut open, countless of blood splattered all at once. The short walls and houses on both sides collapsed from the middle, leaving half of the smooth and neat wall base. The miserable howls were like a belated dirge in the midst of the chaos, suddenly sounded. Southern Cross Army advance. Uncle Bing. Tang Tian looked at the back view in a daze. His heart suddenly gave birth to a trace of sourness. Gu Shui covered her mouth and chuckled. After a while she forcefully suppressed her laughter and said, "Oh right, this year the Gu family has 2 quotas. I have already signed you up. With your strength you can definitely pass the Starry Door trials and then you can leave Phylan's star." Blood flowed like a river and corpses littered the ground. Bing, who opened his arms as though he was stepping on an indomitable drum beat, rushed towards the torrent. Every time his legs stepped on the ground he exerted great force. In just a few steps his speed increased explosively, and his figure suddenly became blurry. The red blade and the green blade swept past, and nothing could stop them for even a moment. It was as if they were slashing through the air. The green and red cross charged into the raging torrent. The saber-toothed tiger's body suddenly lit up with a green light, and the light became brighter and brighter. "Hey, who are you scolding? How dare you use such a tone to talk to your boss? Brat, you're tired of living." Tang Tian glared angrily. Tang Tian divided the spoils of war into 2 equal halves, mainly the soul core and the star stone. He pushed one half to Ling Su and said, "This is your share." Just at this moment the saber-toothed tiger's right leg suddenly stomped on the ground. This stomp was extremely heavy, and the saber-toothed tiger's foot deeply sank into the hard bluestone slabs. An astonishing power erupted. "Teacher, I miss you." The Hua brothers, as the top martial artists of Phylan's star, naturally had a lot of wealth, and the reward that they just received from the great clan elder had also benefited Tang Tian and the rest. The yearning was like a broken dam, instantly filling up Ling Su's heart. That old figure floated in front of his eyes. That stern and authoritative face was so kind, so warm. But the appearance of 3 top martial artists in Black Mountain City at the same time, the Gu family's reputation did not decrease, but instead increased. Everyone knew the relationship between the 3 of them and Gu Shui was not shallow. Gu and Xiong and the great clan elder's actions would only lead to the destruction of the 2 families. But to the Gu family, such a loss in exchange for the help of 3 top martial artists was too worth it. The temperature of the tiger's claws that swept through the air at high speed rose rapidly, and became bright red. Following that, the bright red followed along the palm and quickly spread to the 2 bronze arms. Without any suspense, the other families immediately elected Gu Shui to become the clan leader, and they obediently handed over all their power. Ling Su glanced at Gu Shui as if he understood something and then glanced at Tang Tian. The saber-toothed tiger's figure completely disappeared. Gu Shui's face flushed red. She knew that her thoughts were seen through by Ling Su, and immediately became flustered. But hearing Tang Tian's scolding, she could not help but burst out laughing. She raised her head again and smiled sweetly. "It's better to rely on myself." "Ah yes." Tang Tian immediately became excited. All the people who witnessed this battle in their lives were destined to have an unforgettable nightmare. Tang Tian's loud voice came from below, and Ling Su seemed to have awoken from a dream. He calmed his emotions, rubbed his eyes, calmed his breathing and leaped down from the roof. Once this news was spread, it immediately caused the mechanical engineers and mechanical martial artists of Phylan's Star to cheer. The mechanical martial artists had finally produced a top-notch martial artist. Tang Tian saw Ling Su's expression of treating money like dirt, and was instantly stunned. Are you sure? However, everyone's attention was focused on Tang Tian and Ling Su. Yaya's eyes immediately emitted a dazzling radiance, and with a pop he leaped into the air, and both his hands grabbed the spirit nucleus tightly. When he landed, Yaya looked as if he was drunk, dizzy and had a silly smile on his face. Inside the saber-toothed tiger, Bing's face was full of tears. Hey kid, it's time to split the loot. If you still don't come, I'll pocket it all for myself. Ling Su said with a straight face. Teacher once said, money is the original sin of corruption. Tang Tian was shocked. You still want to activate your blood meridians? Why? It's very dangerous. Aren't you already the clan leader now? Especially Tang Tian. When Tang Tian heard this, he did not hesitate to keep the loot in his bag. He did not find it heavy. Tang Tian said righteously, as the boss, then let me bear these original sins. He then muttered, anyway, I'll ask you for more when I run out of money. Carrying so many things on my body, it's so heavy, it's so annoying. Hua Sha's ability was stronger than Hua Rong, and since Tang Tian defeated Hua Sha, his ability and future were obviously more exciting. Tang Tian was already in the courtyard, laying out the spoils of war. Ling Su hugged his silver spear and sat on the roof in a daze. The setting sun in the distance was already covered by the mountain peaks. Bing was the least valued, even though Bing's green-red cross scythe was shocking, but mechanical martial artists were too unpopular. And limited by the standard of mechanical weapons, it was even more difficult for mechanical martial artists to improve. In comparison, people felt that Tang Tian and Ling Su had more room for improvement, so naturally they paid more attention to them. Yaya hugged the spirit nucleus and walked to the side shakily, her face full of satisfaction. Clang 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 clang. On the other hand, Yaya stared at the pile of spoils of war, its two chubby little hands rubbing its chest continuously. Subconsciously following the green stone slabs, his gaze extended to the distance. A tall bronze figure appeared in his vision. Why are you so stubborn? Tang Tian could not help but say. Everyone had gone through so many trials and tribulations, their relationship was naturally different from before. Tang Tian had already treated Gu Shui as his own friend, and immediately became anxious for her. Looking at Tang Tian's happy look, Gu Shui only smiled quietly. Using his own strength to eliminate 262 martial artists, this was definitely the strength of the strongest martial artist on Phylan's Star. Furthermore, it was an extremely unpopular mechanical martial artist. The loot this time was extremely rich. Ling Su did not care about him and only left him a back view. The saber-toothed tiger spread out its cross back view, as though it was from ancient times. Tang Tian, who was sleeping soundly, was woken up by some noise. He took out a few items and Ling Su's gaze could not move away. Teacher, how good would it be if you could scold me again? Ling Su hugged his silver spear and sat down, but he was obviously not very interested in the loot. The beautiful future made everyone choose to obey Gu Shui. Piu piu. Ling Su glanced at the small mountain and said, you can help me pack it. Aha. That's great. Tang Tian was overjoyed and raised his arms and cheered. Don't you have any high-quality goods? Ling Su asked. Tang Tian casually picked up a spirit nucleus and threw it to Yaya. Here for you. Tang Tian stared blankly at everything that was happening in front of him. The green and red cross was like a cross scythe, quietly stabbing into tofu. Teacher, I've mastered it. He opened his eyes in a daze, and realized that his face was stuck to the ground, and the hard limestone was trembling slightly. Tang Tian immediately woke up. For the ground to tremble like this, it meant that there were many people running and trampling. On this long street, there was not a single martial artist who could still stand. In the middle of the limestone on the street, there was a straight and deep cut from the point where the saber-toothed tiger charged to his feet. Ling Su's vision instantly became blurry. Tang Tian was stunned. You guys will have to leave eventually. A gentle smile hung on Gu Shui's face as if this was a very simple decision. If I activate my blood meridians, I will have the ability to protect myself. Any one of these three's battle achievements was enough to cause a sensation in Phylan's star. With the three of them together, it directly caused Phylan's star to explode. Needless to say, the Hua brothers had been famous for a long time and their positions were stable. To be killed in a one-on-one battle, the opponent's ability would definitely be able to enter the top 50. Heavy metal footsteps, stepping on the mess and blood, slowly moved forward. Green and red cross-scythe. The sound of cloth tearing could be heard clearly in such a noisy environment. After this battle, their wallets were immediately filled. Just star coins alone, they had more than 1,030 grade 6 spirit nucleus, 70 grade 6 star stones. Didn't you say that if you give birth to a son he will have snow rainbow blood meridians? Then why don't you give birth to a son and let him protect you? Tang Tian felt that his idea was too good and laughed. After this battle for the next 10 years, no one will dare to find trouble with you. After 10 years he will have grown up. Leader. The things you taught me I have not forgotten. The Hua brothers who were in the top 50 of Phylan's star were killed by two nameless youths, and a mechanical martial artist who used his own strength with one move consecutively killed 262 martial artists appeared out of nowhere. Gu Shui stared at Tang Tian's distinct face and could not shift her gaze away. She suddenly realized that she had lost her composure, and immediately lowered her head to hide it. The continuous suffering made her quickly mature. That was the saber-toothed tiger. Among the roars and roars, green and red cross was so quiet that there was no sound. Chapter 150. His gaze landed on two small glass bottles, each with a drop of fresh blood floating in it. One of the drops was dark red, while the other had a silver glow. The loose and thick feathers suddenly straightened as though they were waking up from a deep slumber. They were like flowing water flowing slowly. In the blink of an eye the glove changed. Heavenly crane glove. Clang clang clang. Interesting. What attracted Tang Tian's attention the most were the small wings on both sides of the glove. They were shaped like crane wings and were now folded up. Yes, some can. Gu Shui explained, some can't, like the snow rainbow blood meridians. But every blood meridian is not suitable for everyone. You can try. These two blood meridians are silver-ranked blood meridians that are not bad. The dwarf blood meridians can increase your strength and speed greatly, but the side effect is that it will make your body smaller. The winged human blood meridians can increase your speed greatly, and allow your movements to become more agile. Ling Su chose the pony while Tang Tian chose the glove. Ever since his fornax gloves were destroyed, he had not found a suitable weapon. Although the blue peacock's defense was outstanding, it did not help much in attacking. Tang Tian sat beside Bing. Hey uncle, you know how to control mechanical weapons? Tang Tian chose the dwarf blood meridians. He had a deep impression of the power of the dwarf blood meridians. If he could absorb the dwarf blood meridians, his strength would immediately increase by a level. How much? Tang Tian was stunned and asked subconsciously. Gu Shui panicked. Why are you like this? This power caused Tang Tian's spirit to be roused. He started to communicate with the martial spirit of the star treasure. Unexpectedly, he did not spend any energy and established a connection with the martial spirit of the glove. Gu Shui was extremely nervous. He stared at Tang Tian, not daring to blink. Ling Su's face congealed. He had been in Phylan's star for so long, and his understanding of blood meridians was much more than Tang Tian, so he knew swallowing blood meridians had a certain level of danger. Pretty good. Tang Tian chuckled. Then let me try. Nonsense. Bing rolled his eyes. If the instructor doesn't know, how can he teach others? The current Tang Tian had a much deeper understanding of power than before. True power poured into the gloves. Ka ka ka, the sluggish feathers started to flow. Tang Tian felt that the movement of the feathers on the glove was somewhat familiar. The glove was made of bronze and its design was very unique. It was formed from layers of fine feathers, and it was abnormally thick and even a little bloated like a large water bag. Holding it in his hand he could feel its weight. Tang Tian tried to put on the gloves. The inside of the gloves was unusually comfortable. Tang Tian felt as if his hands were wrapped in a ball of water. Bloodlines can be absorbed? Tang Tian's eyes widened. Ling Su shook his head. I won't try. Not yet. Bing replied straightforwardly. He did not wait for Tang Tian to ask and changed the topic. How's your blue peacock? Tang Tian was instantly interested. Before he could react, his crane body suddenly moved. Not knowing if it was because of the crane body energy, the martial spirit was very close to Tang Tian. Tang Tian also realized that the aura of the glove martial spirit made him feel extremely comfortable. Ah, how do you feel? Gu Shue's voice was filled with nervousness. Tang Tian's face was fierce. Without saying a word, he barged into the chamber of the bronze figures and began to vent. I didn't expect these two rascals to have so many star treasures. Tang Tian was also surprised, but he immediately laughed. These two rascals' luck is really bad. They actually didn't have any use for it. Still no reaction. Tang Tian was slightly disappointed. Seems like I'm not suitable to absorb bloodlines. Don't worry, maybe my body is special. I've already thought it through. I want to follow my teacher's path. Ling Su's eyes were filled with determination. Following my teacher's theory, focusing on the spear, not relying on external objects and fulfilling his expectations for me. This is my mission. Tang Tian, who had suffered a heavy blow, ran to Bing. 2 million star coins. To him this was definitely an astronomical figure. He did not have that many star coins on him. The group looked at each other. Tang Tian replied with an "oh," and swallowed the dwarf blood. The dark red dwarf blood did not have any smell of blood. Instead, it had a delicate fragrance. Tang Tian gently poured it down and swallowed it. Green-red cross scythe. Bing paused slightly and said indifferently. A type of martial technique used to charge on the battlefield. Ling Su's pony was a treasure from Equestria constellation. It came from the same constellation as Tang Tian's soaring boots of the pony. But the quality of the pony was higher than the soaring boots of the pony. It could summon a bronze pony, and its speed was similar to Tang Tian's flamingo. It was a very practical treasure. A big palm grabbed the glass bottle. A pair of oddly shaped bronze gloves, a pony and 2 other small glass bottles. The gloves stopped transforming. Tang Tian raised his head and swallowed the angel blood into his stomach. Just swallow it. Gu Shui was slightly nervous. Sometimes there will be some adverse reactions. That means your body is adapting to its power. You must endure it. What is this? Tang Tian was curious. Suddenly his eyes lit up. Crane body energy. Wasn't the crane body energy in his body like this? It was made up of countless layers of true power stacking up. Ling Su's expression was somewhat sluggish. Impossible. Why is there no reaction? Tang Tian's eyes lit up. Tang Tian tilted his head and asked. Why? This is interesting. Have I seen it somewhere before? Tang Tian tried to instigate the crane body energy again. Sharp energy gushed out from his fingertips, leaving 5 deep holes on the bluestone floor. That's right. If you're lucky you can sell it for 2 million. Gu Shui was gloating. Good. Ling Su was satisfied. I only train in spear techniques. For us, we do not seek external help in battles. If it was a true treasure, I would not be able to use it. This little thing can save me a lot of energy. Ling Su held his silver spear as he sat on the horse. He looked like a heroic young man. He tried to instigate a strand of true power into it. 7 million star coins. Tang Tian was dumbfounded. His voice was trembling. The martial spirit of the glove was a ball of floating mist. From the outline it seemed to have the shape of a crane. However, the martial spirit was not strong. It could be seen that it had not been nourished for a long time. After listening to Mrs. description, Mu Lei was stunned. He had never seen or even heard of such a thing. I don't feel anything. I don't feel anything. Tang Tian waved his hand. He had a weird look. This thing can't be fake, right? 1 minute passed. 5 minutes passed. The pitiful 18 bronze figures became the sacrifice of Tang Tian's anger. After a full 10 minutes, Tang Tian, who had vented his anger, left the chamber of the bronze figures. Ling Su took a look. It was true. What do we do? Tang Tian was hesitant. He glanced at the other glass bottle. Do you want to try that? Could it be that the dwarf blood meridians are incompatible with me? Bing gloated. 2 million star coins. How is it? Can you taste it? Is it sweet or salty? The dwarf blood can be sold for 1 million star coins. The angel blood is also 700,000 star coins. With these 2 mouthfuls, 7 million star coins will be gone. Gu Shui sneered. 10 minutes later. Once he said that, Ling Su seemed to have an indescribable aura. It was indeed a treasure of the heavenly crane constellation. It should be a problem with my physique. Mu Lei was unsure. But he heaved a sigh of relief. It's good that you're fine. Tang Tian could feel that his fingers had become more agile. He gently poked the limestone on the floor. Poof, he did not feel any resistance. His fingers completely sank into it. This is the dwarf blood and angel blood. The one who spoke was Gu Shui. She coincidentally came in. When she heard Tang Tian's question, she explained. You guys don't know how to collect them. I helped you collect them. Their blood meridians are also absorbed. When they die, the blood meridians will automatically gather and fuse into a drop of blood. Just 2 drops of blood. Gu Shui was obviously still angry at Tang Tian's reckless actions. She sneered. Do you know how much each drop can be sold for? Tang Tian tilted his head. He was puzzled. Tang Tian's spirit was lifted. This was definitely the most suitable treasure for him. At that moment, Tang Tian was overjoyed. What's that technique called? It's so powerful. Tang Tian quickly threw the 2 million star coins to the back of his head. He asked Bing curiously. At the same time, the crane body in his body started to circulate energy. Tang Tian heard a clear cry. As long as you like it. Tang Tian did not mind. He had long understood that everyone's choices were different, and there was nothing that could be forced. Time passed. How do I absorb it? Tang Tian asked Gu Shui. Don't be rash. Gu Shui shook her head. Can you teach me? Tang Tian's eyes lit up, revealing his true motive. Star treasures. Ling Su's gaze was attracted to the few items in front of him. The gloves in front of him were completely different. They looked brand new. The originally bulky gloves were tightly stuck to his skin. It looked like a thin layer. But the gloves covered from the wrist to the elbow. Mu Lei did not say anything. He just stared at Tang Tian. Ling Su did not say anything either. He stared at Tang Tian. At this moment, Mu Lei, who heard the commotion, also ran over. Gu Shui was like a life-saving straw as she hurriedly asked Mu Lei. Mu Lei's experience was plentiful, and the azure blood in his body was also absorbed. Gu Shui was surprised, but Tang Tian was happy for Ling Su. This was Ling Su finally finding his own path, and the change brought about by the breakthrough in his mental state. Ling Su had been wandering for so many years. The accumulated experience would nourish him as he broke through his mental state. It was foreseeable that Ling Su would usher in a period of rapid improvement. No feeling. Gu Shui was stunned. She reacted and exclaimed, "How is that possible?" Tang Tian's shrill screams could be heard from far away. It seemed that he had obtained a treasure. After communicating with his martial spirit, Tang Tian finally knew the name of the gloves. If only it was a battle treasure. Tang Tian glanced at the little bronze horse. Nothing will happen. Tang Tian pretended to be relaxed and laughed. How can a godlike young man be affected by 2 drops of blood? Chapter 151. In this short period of time, the true power in Tang Tian's body had unknowingly been depleted by a quarter. But he could not care less about the depletion of true power. All his attention was attracted by Bing's words. He came out of the wooden barrel, wiped off the medicine on his body, took out a clean bandage and started to wrap himself up carefully. These bandages were made of special materials and were extremely durable. After wrapping himself tightly, it could help his pitiful bones bear some of the burden. He stepped into the wooden barrel at the side, which was filled with black medicine, emitting a pungent smell, and the medicine soaked his neck. But luckily the energy concentration in the recruit training camp was higher, and his progress in training true power was not slow. Tang Tian felt the scene before him change, and he was in a huge valley. The gray valley, rugged rocks, and the terrain was extremely complicated. The wind in the valley was strong, and it was hard to open one's eyes. Tang Tian had to use some strength to stabilize his body, and Bing floated beside him in the air. His face revealed a look of pain. A few large wolves that were about the same size as him, with sharp and terrifying wolf teeth, drooling and red eyes, stared fiercely at Tang Tian. Tang Tian's face changed. "Teacher, I finally have the qualifications to wear it. I understand it means to let the meridians in Dantian starve and then they will eat very quickly." Tang Tian extended his hand and said. Tang Tian heard and immediately checked the true power in his body, and as expected the true power in his body had unknowingly decreased by a lot. This spear was given to him by his teacher and was the source of his strength. After a few years of wandering, he finally started to find himself. "I still need a period of time to recover." Tang Tian was a little worried. In the battle with Huasha, Blue Peacock was heavily injured, and blocked over 20 attacks for him, and the last attack also greatly injured its vitality. Bing's hand gently moved and the colorful planets in the room rotated quickly. After a moment, a gray planet stopped in front of Bing. Teacher, Little Sue will definitely not let you down. I didn't expect you to pass the chamber of the 18 bronze figures so quickly. To be honest, this was out of my expectations. Bing looked at Tang Tian. I originally thought that you would be tormented here for a while, so I did not arrange any new subjects for you. Alright, let's talk about the new subject. Ling Su could still remember the way his teacher had looked at him. A few bone-gnawing wolves howled and pounced at Tang Tian like angry arrows. Tang Tian suddenly sensed something and turned his head. This was a prescription that his teacher had concocted for him when he was still alive to alleviate the burden on his body. Every once in a while he would need to soak in it to remove the hidden injuries in his body. Ever since he started practicing this spear art, he had never stopped taking medicine. Teacher, I can do it. Looking at himself in the mirror, Ling Su muttered to himself, his orange-red eyes filled with longing and determination. Tang Tian's hair stood on end. Without saying a word, he turned around and started running. In the time it took for him to speak, Tang Tian only had half of his true power left in his body. This level of comfort would not last long. New subject. Tang Tian's eyes lit up. His teacher sighed. Little Sue, when I picked you up, your body was already heavily injured. Your bones were already deformed, especially your spine. I massaged you every day, but there was no way to change it. This spear art has high demands on the body and your body can't handle it. Your wrists, elbows, these joints have all been injured to varying degrees. Your strength exertion has a natural defect, and most importantly, the burden it brings to your spine will make you wish you were dead. I asked Big Brother Jing Hao, and Jing Hao said it's not a big deal. Just let it rest for a period of time, feed it more spirit nuclei, and it will recover. Teacher, why don't you teach me spear arts? The young voice carried a hint of sadness. Although the chamber of the 18 bronze figures was torturous, it did allow him to improve greatly. If he did not complete the chamber of the 18 bronze figures, he would definitely not be able to cross hands with an enemy of Hua Sha's level, not to mention winning. The snow-white bandages wrapped around his body made his face flush red and looked somewhat sick. He held the silver spear in his hand. The cold body of the spear immediately calmed his heart. Bing's sinister voice came over. Bing was like an experienced instructor hitting the nail on the head. Yes. Tang Tian nodded his head heavily and said seriously and firmly, a godlike young man will not slack off. Ling Su revealed a satisfied expression. His gaze landed on a brand new white robe on the chair. The white robe was lined with gold. The collar was upright and nailed with 2 golden goat horns insignia. Tang Tian continuously used his martial spirit to nourish it, but the results were minimal. But what made him feel at ease was he could feel that although the peacock's martial spirit's aura was weak, but its vitality seemed to be stronger than before. The training of true power also has a subject? Tang Tian was stunned. In his mind, the training of true power was a competition of time. Those who had the means would use star rocks to train, that way the improvement would be faster. But obviously with his current net worth, he naturally could not be so extravagant. Ling Su was slightly agitated. He reached out his palm and caressed the white robe. His teacher's reminder before he died was still ringing in his ears. In the room, Ling Su took off his thick jacket. His entire body was wrapped in bandages like a mummy. He lowered his head and unwrapped the bandages on his wrists. The bandages loosened round by round, elbows, shoulders, chest, waist. Bing snorted, "Don't be so full of yourself. Come, let me show you the new subject I've prepared for you." The pain gradually subsided. He felt his body regaining its vitality. His stiff joints also became soft. The prickling sensation that made him feel like needles had disappeared. After the burning sensation, what followed was unimaginable pain. It was like countless of small files in his joints, in the gaps of his bones, continuously grinding away the newly grown bone spurs. Tang Tian felt a chill in his heart. But he quickly threw this point to the back of his head. What it looked like, he completely did not care. Even if it was a beggar's clothes, he would not hesitate to wear it. The soft murmur was like a vow. Did you discover the abnormality here? That's right, the wind here will continuously swallow your true power, and from there, it will speed up the loss of your true power. Even if you stand here without moving, the true power in your body will continue to be consumed. An hour later, his eyes that had lost focus slowly regained their vigor. Tang Tian's ears perked up, his face full of anticipation. Of course, just this is not enough. Because for a long time without the nourishment of true power, your meridians and dantian will wither. Later on, we discovered as long as you can maintain a high-intensity exercise, your flesh power will continuously nourish your meridians and dantian. This is a deeper level of nourishment and strengthening. Because you can't practice it. The old voice said patiently. He had long learned how to wrap the bandages tightly without affecting the flexibility of his body. So, Bing's poker face exposed a sinister smile with a snap of his fingers. We will give the recruits some motivation to exercise your good partner, bone-gnawing wolf. If one day you are able to master the Justice Origin Corthorn, you can wear it. The deformed body was slowly swallowed by the snow-white bandages. Bing opened the gray planet. It was the first time Tang Tian had encountered such a situation. He had spent the most effort on the blue peacock under the continuous tempering. The blue peacock's power was much stronger than before, but he did not expect that this time it would suffer such a heavy injury. Ling Su carefully wore the white robe. The white robe was very wide, covering his body tightly. His white robe was whiter than snow, his silver spear embellished with red embellishments, blue hair and orange pupils. Looking at his handsome self in the mirror, Ling Su was slightly surprised. This set of clothes looked more like a priest's uniform and not like a martial artist's uniform. I will definitely work hard, really hard. Teacher, I beg you, please teach me. The young and stubborn voice pleaded. Your martial techniques already do not have many flaws, but this is obviously not enough. Your problem now is your body cannot keep up with your reactions. Your martial spirit has reached the silver rank. It is still slowly improving, but your martial technique's true power is still at a lower level. Especially your true power, the 5th level standard, is already unable to adapt to your current battles. So this time's training subject is aimed at true power. The medicinal power permeated his body. His entire body felt like it was on fire. His bones were wrapped in a ball of fire, continuously burning as though it wanted to soften and melt the hard and unyielding bones. His mind was blank, his face pale white, the orange angry eyes lost their focus, becoming pale, his mouth unconsciously releasing sounds like a wild beast. His head looked as though it was fished out from the water, his face full of perspiration, his blue hair all wet, sticking to his head. Teacher, I can do it. I can definitely do it. The young Ling Su raised his head and said resolutely. The young man pushed open the door and the room was filled with sunlight. Your description is very accurate. Bing's mouth revealed a smile but immediately became serious. That's right. So we built this training room called the Valley of Hunger. There is no energy here. Your true power cannot be replenished here. You will soon experience what is the feeling of hunger. But this process was definitely not enjoyable. Looking at the mirror, the blue-haired, orange-eyed face full of heroic spirit, the deformed figure, the bent and deformed elbow, his thoughts drifted far away. You also need to properly digest the gains from this battle. Bing reminded him. Of course I have. His wrist lightly shook, the spear tip trembled, a silver cold aura flashed in the air. True power is the foundation of all martial techniques, and the research on true power has always been our focus. Increasing the concentration of energy in the environment is the most common method. But this time we had a new discovery very quickly. When your true power is quickly consumed, your meridians and dantian will always be in a state of negative pressure. The meridians and dantian will instead be strengthened and their efficiency in absorbing energy will become higher. Oh, relax, even if they catch up to you, you will not really die, but the pain is unavoidable. They like to bite people's joints until they become dregs. Only then will they reluctantly swallow. You can try it yourself, it feels very real. Chapter 152. Ling Su's spear techniques did not have any changes, and only continued to sprinkle out pieces after pieces of the spear-tip cold aura that formed a silver sea of stars. Bing looked at the time. A full 20 minutes had passed. Bing could not help but recall in the recruit barracks how many people could do this. I never thought I would still be able to see the Aries spear of stars. Bing's voice suddenly sounded out in Tang Tian's mind. And the empty meridians and dantian instinctively wanted to absorb energy from the gale, but there was no energy in the gale. The dantian meridians and the gale, two different types of suction, seemed to be adding strength. Why is this guy dressed so handsome today? Above his head, Bing's friendly reminder came out. Luckily his body quality was outstanding, although he did not have the support of true power, but his physical strength was enough for him to run. Tang Tian used all his strength to run. The gale blew so hard that he could not open his eyes. This gale was very strange. When it brushed past his body, it would take away his body temperature and take away the true power in his body. The faster he ran, the faster the true power in his body would be lost. This was the first time Tang Tian saw Ling Su training his spear techniques, and was immediately interested and simply sat down on the stone bench in the corner. The moment he sat down, his buttocks trembled, his heart suddenly tightened, and only after a while did he react. He had already left the recruit barracks. His buttocks were obviously unharmed, but he felt a dull pain inside. Tang Tian was stunned. Ling Su had changed into a brand new set of clothes, and immediately looked like a rich young master, handsome and dashing. Tang Tian lowered his head to look at himself, and suddenly felt a burst of country bumpkin air. He was truly surprised. 18 minutes and 33 seconds. Bing's introduction made Tang Tian's scalp numb. He did not dare to look back and did not dare to stop. The feeling of hunger was getting stronger and the muscles in his legs were getting softer and softer. Mu Lei left with a long laugh. Bing was truly moved. That poker face that looked like it was painted on, the surprised expression, was unspeakably lively and funny. His thick eyebrows slid to the side, his eyes widened, and his mouth formed an oval shape. This rotation was actually caused by the thumb rubbing against the body of the gun. Tang Tian's gaze fell on Ling Su's hand that was holding the silver spear. After looking for a while, he revealed a surprised expression. Tang Tian comforted himself in his heart. Bing looked at the back view of the stumbling figure and sighed with emotion. This fellow was always giving him more and more surprises. To be able to break the recruit camp record, what kind of ferocious people were they? The image of sharp wolf teeth biting into his buttocks appeared in his mind. Hearing this, Mu Lei was stunned for a moment before he was overjoyed. That's great. Miss, you don't have to take this risk. Bing continued to mock and ridicule him from above. He was calm and unruffled, leisurely, with a face full of smiles. He said, even in our era, to have such an outstanding physique like yours, it was rare. Such exquisite finger strength. Gu Shui looked at Mu Lei's back view and used a voice that only she could hear. Such precious time to use it to activate the blood meridians, what a waste. To fully exert strength, it was almost impossible to avoid the spine. In any martial technique, the spine contained astonishing power. To Tang Tian, this was undoubtedly a form of torture. The feeling of his meridians being empty persisted for 10 minutes, and Tang Tian felt like a hungry demon, his chest sticking to his back. But he could not relax. The high-intensity exercise made him feel weak and tired like never before. Not only that, the strength of his shoulders, elbows and wrists he did not use much. Ling Su actually used the strength of his fingers the most. The more he ran, the hungrier he got, and the more he ran, the weaker his limbs became. If not for the wolf howling behind him, Tang Tian would have definitely sat on the ground. But Gu Shui smiled sweetly. Uncle Mu, don't try to persuade me. I'll tell them later. I don't intend to activate the blood meridians. Bing was startled, glanced, and immediately looked back in shock. His face could not bear to look and muttered, I've reminded you before, they also love buttocks. It's really good to be young man, your physique is rather outstanding. But he no longer needed to worry about the problem of true power because the true power in his body was already empty, not a drop was left. In the courtyard, Ling Su was training his spear arts. Alright, this godlike young man never walked the path of sacrificing his body. Mu Lei was speechless. After a long time he then said, I understand. Tang Tian's face was gloomy. He angrily walked out of the room. His walking posture was a little weird, as though his buttocks were injured. Tang Tian's face turned white, his legs that were just weak, suddenly exploded with a burst of power, and his speed increased sharply. Miss, all the materials are prepared. Mu Lei wanted to say something but stopped, his face full of worry. Forcing himself to throw the image of the buttocks and the snow-white wolf teeth out of his mind, Tang Tian composed himself, and placed his attention on Ling Su's spear arts. His meridians were empty at the start. Tang Tian did not feel too uncomfortable. It felt like he had just gone through a big battle and was a little weak. But his physical strength was not affected much. It felt a little weird. After running for a while, Tang Tian did not feel so good. The strong wind brushed past his body, and there was a faint suction force. But Ling Su's strength did not even apply it to his spine. Time passed slowly. Tang Tian's mind was blank. He only knew to instinctively run. The spine to a martial artist was like a big dragon. It was the source of strength. But this fellow, Every one of Ling Su's spear brought along a strong rotation. In his memory, ordinary recruits, when entering for the first time, to be able to last for 10 minutes was considered a pretty good result. Entering for the first time and exceeding 20 minutes, such a result, did he break the record? Bing started to think. After a while, a string of numbers appeared in his mind. Really makes one look forward to it. Ah ah ah. Tang Tian's heart-wrenching scream floated in the air above the Valley of Hunger. Tang Tian's gaze was fixed on Ling Su's 10 fingers. He then noticed, Ling Su's 10 fingers were thicker than the average person's. But such an ordinary fellow actually broke the record the first time he entered the Valley of Hunger. Oh, 10 minutes and you're already here, not bad, not bad. Bing's tone seemed to be full of praise, but Tang Tian was very clear that this fellow was definitely waiting to watch the show. Psychological shadow. This was definitely a psychological shadow. He seemed to not know fatigue and was extremely engrossed in this kind of boring training. It was like a big mouth greedily sucking in an empty bottle. Tang Tian's heart was indescribably shocked. Ling Su's 10 fingers were changing rhythm so fast he actually could not catch it. In such a small range, but was able to explode with astonishing power, and the changes were so complicated Tang Tian could not even understand it. If there really is an accident, even if they are here, they can't do anything. Gu Shui said softly. Let this godlike young lad go to heaven's road peacefully, and realize his godlike dream. How good would that be? Gu Shui smiled. He has already helped us enough. Miss Mu Lei was immediately shocked. You must not. Young Master Tang and young Master Ling are both here. If there is an accident, they can take care of you. Tang Tian's fundamental martial techniques were incomparably strong, and his understanding of force exertion was extremely deep. With one look he could see that Ling Su's force exertion was extremely strange. His tone was filled with sorrow and reminiscence. Since this place is called the Valley of Starvation, of course the bone-gnawing wolves are also hungry. Oh, normally they would be starved for 7 to 8 days and then released. Ling Su's waist did not move an inch, both of his shoulders never opened, and the trembling of the spear was very small. Miss, are you afraid that young Master Tang will be worried? Mu Lei looked deeply at Mississippi. Bing, who was following behind him, could not help but reveal a look of surprise on his poker face. Tang Tian was already an arrow at the end of its flight. His heavy breathing was like bellows, his advancing speed had obviously decreased, and when he jumped over a piece of rock he even fell. If not for his physical strength being close to the critical point, Tang Tian would definitely not have such a problem. There was no end to the valley in front. He had been an instructor for a very long time, and had seen countless of talented youths. Back then the Southern Cross Army was like the sun in the sky and had strict requirements for recruits, which one of them was not a genius. With Tang Tian's standard and talent back then, it was impossible for him to enter the recruit barracks. Uncle Mu's expectations of me are really high. Gu Shui was startled, but she suddenly imitated Tang Tian's tone and mischievously said, But I think so too. Oh, I forgot to tell you, although the bone-gnawing wolf likes to chew on bones, it also has a preference for the fleshy buttocks. Gu Shui suddenly raised her head and smiled. Uncle Mu, I've changed my mind. His attention was all on the bone-gnawing wolf behind him. The bone-gnawing wolf's pursuit, that craziness and stubbornness, the incessant roars, made Tang Tian tremble with fear. But Mu Lei still wanted to persuade him. Oh my God. Using the friction of the thumb to produce such a strong rotation, Tang Tian was dumbstruck. Ling Su's silver spear was made of metal, it was not light at all. The strong wind was still continuously sucking at his empty dantian. He was like a starving person wanting to vomit but having nothing to vomit. Tang Tian did not dare to be distracted. The Valley of Starvation's terrain was rather complex. He needed to be fully focused. Such a strange way of exerting force. Before Mu Lei turned to leave, he suddenly turned back and said seriously, Miss, I believe that you will definitely activate your blood meridians. Heaven has given you so many hardships and so much luck, it must be to forge a legend. No. Gu Shui shook her head. I intend to wait for them to leave before I try. Chapter 153. Don't tell me it changed its name? Bing was surprised. Gu Shui followed Tang Tian's finger and looked and was enlightened. Oh, there used to be a lot of stone sculptures here and there were quite a few of them like this, but there were too many people digging in the past and everyone wanted to dig 3 feet into the ground, so the stone sculptures were basically destroyed. Is Tian interested in stone sculptures? This big canyon, there is a ruin inside. As the wind was strong, Gu Shui needed to speak loudly so that Tang Tian could hear her. I don't know which era it is, there used to be adventurers who would come here, but all the valuable things have been taken away, and now it is a ruin and no one has come here for many years. That's great. Gu Shui's beautiful face seemed to brighten up and she said excitedly, then let's go. Hurry up. Aries Spear of Stars? Ling Su was stunned and said, you got it wrong, it's called Pointed Sea Spear. Shui. Tang Tian saw who it was and was surprised. Why do you have time at this time? Aren't you very busy recently? Tang Tian's shout in the wind woke Gu Shui up. Gu Shui heard Tang Tian's shout and immediately ran over. Tian, what did you discover? Gu Shui, who was caught off guard, screamed in the sky, but very quickly the screams turned into laughter. The wind blew past her face looking at Tang Tian. Gu Shui suddenly wished if time could stop now, how good would it be? She smiled sweetly. This is the only place in Black Mountain City that has some scenery. The Aries Spear of Stars that I have seen before, the force exertion was not like this, seems like it is a new creation. Bing muttered, this kind of force exertion is faster and more concealed, others are unable to catch and predict. And the range is very small, the speed of the spear can be increased, and is very suitable to use the star sea. However, if that was the case, the requirement for finger strength would also reach an unimaginable level. The strength of my fingers compared to normal exertion is simply too small. Tang Tian was suddenly enlightened, and pretended to speak in an unfriendly tone. Could it be that uncle did not actually teach me the true Southern Cross Army's absolute arts? Amidst the ruins their voices echoed. This conclusion surprised even Tang Tian himself. Calming his mind, Tang Tian sprinted at full speed. He did not know if it was because he had just come out from the Valley of Starvation, but his meridians and dantian had also become incomparably hungry, desperately and greedily devouring the surrounding energy. Not long after, a headless, one-armed stone statue appeared in front of them. Tian, what were you like when you were young? Very high. Tang Tian had a deep understanding of force exertion. Although he did not understand all the mysteries, he could roughly estimate how strong the finger strength was required to exert such force. The finger strength should be about 40 times that of a normal martial artist. Anyway, in their eyes, the Pointed Sea Spear was the Aries Spear of Stars. Tang Tian listened quietly, not knowing how to comfort her. Gu Shui's eyes lit up. Then let's dig it out. Hey Ling Su, your Aries Spear of Stars training is not bad. Tang Tian laughed as he walked over. In this happiness and satisfaction, Tang Tian brought Gu Shui to the Grand Canyon. I'm done with my work. Everything is arranged. I can finally relax. Gu Shui's face was full of smiles. Alright, I've already reported your names. The Starry Door trials will be held 2 months later. You guys leave a month earlier, there's plenty of time. Gu Shui gently bent down and plucked a small blue flower. She placed it at the tip of her nose and sniffed it. She said softly, when I was young, my father often brought me here to play. There's no one here anymore. My father said that 30 years ago there would always be people coming here. It's said that a powerful treasure was unearthed. The entire ruins were dug up to the sky. There was nothing else. Other than these stone pillars and walls, no one wanted them. My father saw that I liked this place, so he got rid of all the weeds in the ruins and planted my favorite flowers. He said he wanted to gift me a garden. Oh. Tang Tian shook his head. I don't know why, but this stone hand gives me an unusual feeling. The two of them started to get busy. To Tang Tian, pulling out the weeds was a walk in the park. He started to live alone very early on. He had a lot of life experience. Looking at Gu Shui, who was cheering like a little girl, Tang Tian then remembered that the new patriarch of the Gu family was actually a little girl. It was a stone-carved palm. The movement of the palm attracted Tang Tian's gaze. It was a simple hand gesture, but for some reason, it made Tang Tian's heart palpitate uncontrollably. The time it took to release the spear was shorter, which meant that Ling Su's Sea of Stars was more compact and more stable. Pointed Sea Spear? Tang Tian was stunned. Tang Tian stood rooted to the ground. His eyes were wide open. His face was unhappy. Hey. It could be seen that there were not many people in the canyon. The place was overgrown with weeds. There was not even a small path. Tang Tian grabbed onto Gu Shui. He stepped on the cliffs on both sides of the canyon and flew forward. It was a relaxed and carefree feeling. Energy continuously entered his meridians and was refined into true power. Once again it was injected into the Dantian pool. That kind of happiness and satisfaction almost made Tang Tian cry. Right. Tang Tian readily agreed. Gu Shui rarely made any requests. It was not an overboard request. Black Mountain City had been in turmoil recently. Although he and Ling Su were there, no one dared to make a move on the Gu family. But Gu Shui's safety was a huge problem. Tang Tian's face turned white. He still had the trauma of being bitten on his buttocks. In Tang Tian's mind, the scene of the bone-gnawing wolves roaring and rushing towards him in the Valley of Starvation appeared. Immediately his heart trembled. His buttocks were in pain. Hearing the two words canyon, Tang Tian thought of the Valley of Starvation and his mind trembled. I'm not done. Ling Su did not care about Tang Tian. He walked to a corner and meditated. Increase the amount. Hey, where are we going? No problem. A ruin appeared in front of Tang Tian. The ground was filled with broken walls. What was left were some rock carvings. But from the traces of wind erosion, it could be seen that they were very old. After passing through the canyon, the scenery became clear. Tang Tian understood what Gu Shui meant when she said the scenery was not bad. Although it was very old and had been eroded by wind, the patterns on the walls and pillars were still solemn and exquisite. The ruins were filled with brightly colored flowers, which made the remnants of the ruins look even more ancient and unadorned. Tang Tian was surprised. If you want to thank me, play with me for a day. Gu Shui said generously. It's not easy for me to rest. I want to go out for a walk and relax. I'll have to trouble you, young lad, to be my guard. Tang Tian pointed at the stone hand in the mud. That. Tang Tian threw away the heaviness in his heart and laughed. Suddenly he grabbed Gu Shui and soared into the sky. Cough, cough, cough. A godlike young lad, how could he be so embarrassed by a mere Valley of Starvation? Tang Tian's speed was very fast. While he was pulling the grass, he answered Gu Shui's endless questions. Suddenly something in the mud caught his eye. Tang Tian knew that his intuition was very strong. With 13 times of intuition, he was much stronger than the average martial artist. This fellow is not an ordinary person. Bing was suddenly full of emotions. The Aries Spear of Stars is very unique. It is famous for being hard to train. When he releases his spear, it brings along a strong spiraling force. When used for offense, it has astonishing destructive power. When used for defense, it can dissipate the enemy's force. Look at him, he can release his spear 30 times in a second. And look at his spear, it's all relying on his fingers. Pointed sea spear it is. Are you done training? Tang Tian was eager to try. Then let's fight. Don't look down on me. Tang Tian said firmly. How can I be defeated by this asshole? I'm his boss. Tang Tian was surprised. To be able to hear such praise from Bing's mouth, it was Tang Tian's first time. But looking at Ling Su's focused expression, Tang Tian could not help but nod. This fellow is indeed very strong. The way he releases his spear is very unique. It's my first time seeing him use his fingers to release his spear. A normal martial artist's finger strength was 40 times. This strength could not be compared to his arm strength, but it was already very shocking. On the other hand, this weird way of releasing his strength caused the speed of his attacks to decrease greatly. The spear became even more sudden and unpredictable. The lethality increased rapidly. Gu Shui calmed himself down and shouted. Let's go outside the city. Over there, do you see it? There's a big canyon. Aries Spear of Stars? Tang Tian was immediately curious. Sounds very powerful. Suddenly, a beautiful figure barged in. You brat, you didn't even pass the recruit camp. What absolute arts? Bing sneered. But his heart was still warm. He said, but since I'm still alive, the Southern Cross Army is destined to flourish. Seems like I'll have to increase your strength. If not, if I lose to this Aries brat, then I'll lose face. His entire body was drenched in sweat. He gasped for breath. Only then did he notice Tang Tian in the corner. At this age, he had experienced so many misfortunes and tribulations. It was not easy. When I was young, I was with my mother. Then she passed away. Tang Tian immediately started moving. The loose soil was easy for him. Gu Shui stopped the sorrow in his heart. His face once again hung a warm smile. I haven't been here for so long. The grass here has grown so much. Hey Tim, let's pull the grass. Ling Su, who had completely forgotten himself, finally stopped. No. Tang Tian did not understand. Aren't there you and me? However, after thousands of years of evolution, the name of a martial technique changing was not something too surprising. Regardless of whether it was Bing or Tang Tian, they did not care. That's great. Tang Tian was overjoyed. Thank you. Yes, very powerful. Bing said. I don't know how it is now. But at that time, it was the strongest martial technique of the Aries constellation. It was very famous. I never thought that in this era it would still be passed down. But the inheritance of our Southern Cross Army has been completely destroyed. Tang Tian thought so too. No matter what it was, wouldn't they know once they dug it out? Chapter 154. I've found one. Dang dang dang. The undulation of the martial spirit? Tang Tian did not notice it. After being reminded by Bing, he used his hands to touch the statue and closed his eyes to feel it. Her face was anxious. The cracks on the 5 stone statues could be seen with the naked eye, and when the last piece of stone entered the stone statue in front of Tang Tian and Bing, were 5 perfect and flawless stone statues. But when the 5 statues were placed together, even Gu Shui could see that it was not normal. His experience was far richer than Tang Tian's. The 5 statues in front of them were ancient, but they were still able to maintain their good condition and were once again awakened. These things were definitely not simple. Tang Tian felt a chill down his spine. The hair on his back stood up. Without thinking, he bent his waist and the cold sword aura brushed past his spine. A ray of sharp tan tuo blade brought along a mist and pounced towards the opponent. There's one here. The one-armed headless statue only had one arm and it made a weird hand gesture. Tang Tian felt that something was about to break out from the ground beneath his feet. He immediately dodged backwards. Whoosh, a shadow drilled out from the ground and whooshed past him. It was a piece of crushed stone. He secretly shook his head. That day he was impulsive and used the green-red cross scythe. It took him a few days to recover. It was better to use less powerful techniques. Let's quickly search and see if there are any other statues. Tang Tian was also filled with anticipation. He suddenly felt that this could be an amazing discovery. Tang Tian did not expect that the extremely sharp tan tuo blade was actually unable to leave any marks on the statue's body. He did not know what was not simple, but his intuition was extremely strong. Because he was attracted by the hand gesture at first glance. If not for Bing's reminder, he would not have felt the weak martial spirit undulation from the statue. The two of them did not feel tired. They looked at the small hill as though they were looking at a pile of treasures. The two of them started to assemble the statues excitedly. In this aspect, Gu Shui's talent was much higher than Tang Tian's. Very quickly, Tang Tian decided to stand aside and watch. Because he realized that his help was not as fast as Gu Shui's. Tang Tian's true power rippled. The cold chi exploded and formed a circle of air around Tang Tian. Gu Shui's face was slightly pale. She subconsciously leaned towards Tang Tian. Suddenly, one of the statues opened its eyes and smiled. The statue's face was actually like a woman's skin with a hint of charm. Tan tuo blade struck the statue, but what Tian did not expect was that, other than the statue swaying a little, there were no injuries. And it's a very evil and cold martial spirit. Tang Tian checked the cracks on the statue. The cracks were not serious, so it should not have been broken for too long. Thinking about what Gu Shui said 30 years ago, many people came here, Tang Tian guessed that the other parts were broken at that time. It seems to be an amazing discovery. Gu Shui was extremely happy. It was as though she found a big treasure. Her face was filled with joy and curiosity. Furthermore, this amazing discovery was made together with Tang Tian, and there was nothing that made her happier. Another statue appeared behind him. Its index and middle fingers were like a sword, pointing straight at Tang Tian's back. Not long after, they heard Gu Shui's cheerful voice. Over here. Tang Tian's reaction was fast. His right leg hooked downwards. The two of them started to search seriously. Hey uncle, do you know him? Tang Tian and Bing secretly conversed. If his strength was at its peak, then he would not be worried at all. This kind of trash, one finger was enough to crush them all. The broken parts that they found were piled up into a small hill. Bing, who was controlling the saber-toothed tiger, appeared beside Tang Tian. Gu Shui was thrown far away by Tang Tian. Gu Shui, who was in the air, immediately flew away. She knew her strength was meager. he could not help much. The most important thing was not to distract Tang Tian. Damn it! Tang Tian's body took the chance to lie down. He dodged the statue's finger. The moment he fell to the ground, Tang Tian fiercely stomped on the ground. He was like an arrow that left the bow. He rushed out. The two of them ran to the statue. They tried to piece it back together. But they realized there was an extra piece. Tang Tian glanced at it. He nodded his head. It's beautiful. That perfect arm was indeed very beautiful. Although Tang Tian did not know what was called artistic beauty, but his gaze would always be attracted to that arm, it was very graceful. The 5 fingers of the grasping flower flew towards the back of Tang Tian's head. The cold chi was as though it wanted to pierce through his head. Bang! The godlike young man's face darkened. He said angrily, "These 5 fellows don't look like good people. They actually tried to charm me. You guys are dead." One by one, the broken pieces were attracted by the strong suction force. Like a rainstorm, they shot out from the ground and entered the 5 broken statues. Countless white vortexes with Tang Tian as the center, suddenly rushed out in all directions. His pupils constricted. Seeing Tang Tian open his eyes, Gu Shui was curious. What's so special about the statue? Tang Tian and Gu Shui started to search the ruins. The qi swept past his body. Tang Tian's heart shivered. The qi was extremely cold and strange. It was like a living poisonous worm. It tried to drill into Tang Tian's body. Bing was not as optimistic as Tang Tian. He was facing a great enemy. Looking at the 5 statues, they were not ordinary. Every statue's martial spirit was different. But they had a subtle connection. Pupiu. The 5 beautiful statues were glowing with a demonic aura. It was like they were alive. Tang Tian's gaze was attracted to them. However, before he could even stand still, the stone man was like a maggot attached to his bones, haunting him like a ghost. And he had a premonition that this special hand technique was not that simple. With that thought, Tang Tian's spirit was roused. Let's search. Maybe we can find its hand and head. These statues are not ordinary. Gu Shui opened her eyes wide. She looked at Tang Tian, who had his eyes closed. She could not tell what was so attractive about the statue to Tang Tian. Take care of yourself. Bing bellowed. But the moment the 5 statues were stepped on, the demonic and cold qi suddenly surged. With a loud bang, it exploded. I don't know. Gu Shui shook her head. Many people have come here before. But no one knows what era the ruins are from. But with his current strength. Bing's disapproving voice came out from the saber-toothed tiger's armor. It can be considered a real battle practice. But don't call me out for no reason. For a chief instructor like me, the appearance fee is expensive. As a hired thug, Ghost Claw is very qualified. The 5 statues were smiling. Some looked like they were holding flowers. Some looked like they were standing with their fingers straight. Some looked like they had their palms open with 3 fingers pointing to the sky. Their expressions and hand movements were all different. Bing was speechless. What era are these ruins from? Tang Tian asked Gu Shui. 5 broken and incomplete stone statues. The dazzling blade aura suddenly blossomed. Tang Tian accurately blocked a palm that appeared out of nowhere. His 5 fingers were like holding flowers. A sweet fragrance entered his nose. Tang Tian felt his blood churning. His legs became weak. He retreated a few steps. The martial spirit was weak. But it was a demonic martial spirit. Tang Tian's heart trembled. It was the first time he felt such a cold and demonic martial spirit. At this point, he already knew that this headless one-armed stone statue was no ordinary object. But which constellation would produce such a demonic chi? The 2 of them buried their heads in the ruins. After noon, the 2 of them finally plowed through the ruins a few times. Other than those buried deep underground, there was no way to search carefully. Weird. Almost at the same time, the other 4 statues opened their eyes. Some were laughing, some were crying, some were happy, and some were angry. I don't know. Bing shook his head. His tone was surprised. These statues are weird. They seem to have the undulations of a martial spirit. 7 consecutive blades landed on the statue. The statue that did not have any before finally had a crack. The statue turned into a human. It was extremely creepy. Tang Tian's pupils constricted. But he was not afraid. Instead, he was eager. Seems like it is not easy to deal with. Tang Tian's face changed. He pushed Gu Shui behind him. The martial spirits on each of the stone statues were clearly very weak, but when the 5 stone statues were placed together, the aura of the martial spirits suddenly became very strong. Gu Shui was interested. Without hesitation he said, "Then let's look for it. Then we can complete it. Look at its hand. It's very beautiful." Tang Tian took a deep breath. The palm that was hidden at his waist activated the Shiratori vortex. It has a martial spirit? Gu Shui was stunned. The statues have martial spirits? Bang! Tang Tian took the chance to catch his breath. He could see the statue in front of him clearly. Although the 5 statues were not complete, they were placed together. The surrounding temperature dropped. The cold qi lingered around the 2 of them. The broken rock stuck on one of the statues. It was a perfect fit. "I feel that it's better to save some spirit nuclei," Tang Tian said. "We are very poor." The aura of the 5 afterimages in the field continued to rise. A cold and demonic aura spread out in waves. Tang Tian had a hallucination as though the 5 broken images were alive. "Yes." Tang Tian's face congealed. "It has a martial spirit." Bing secretly thought in his heart he did not know anything about the history of the 3 great armies from the time of their demise until now. He did not know which dynasties or which powerful constellations had appeared during this period. Tang Tian looked at it. He felt dizzy. He became alert and woke up. Tang Tian was alarmed. He shouted, "It's here." The qi became stronger. Tang Tian's uneasiness increased. He could not care about anything else. He grabbed Gu Shui and threw her behind him. "It's not this one." Tang Tian was excited. "Seems like there's more than one statue here." He roared, "Bing!" Tang Tian's spirit was roused and he immediately ran over. It was indeed an arm. From the style it was exactly the same as the statue. Tang Tian observed for a moment, it was a completely different hand gesture. Chapter 155. Chi Chi Chi, a white whirlpool of air with a thin whistle like a school of mischievous fish, rushed towards the ball of red fist seal. Many thoughts suddenly emerged in his mind, but at this moment, Tang Tian's heart was in a strange tranquility. The angry-faced statue was like a sieve, trembling violently. Its body had many shallow pits. Tang Tian's pupils suddenly shrunk. A dot of red light lit up on the crying-faced statue's middle finger. Tang Tian did not have any fear in his heart, although these statues were emitting a strange and cold qi, but Tang Tian's guts were originally big, such a strong qi could not affect him at all. A straight red sword aura gushed out from the crying-faced statue's middle finger, suddenly reaching in front of Tang Tian. The 5 round pearls in his palm suddenly turned into 5 puddles of blood. The 5 puddles of blood mixed together, squirming. The blood puddles could faintly see a human shape. "Seems like I need to spend some time to temper the heavenly crane gloves." Poof poof poof. A thick and ancient qi suddenly enveloped the entire area. The crying-faced statue instantly turned into a pile of dust. Dangerous white bird. Tang Tian was stunned. These statues' chests were so hard, his Tan-Tue blade could not even leave a mark on them, but the ghost claw could actually pierce through their chests. The moment the red light shone, Tang Tian had goosebumps all over his body. Without thinking, he struck out with the great monument palm. Bang! The angry-faced statue's body split into pieces. Tang Tian did not give the angry-faced statue a chance to regain its footing. In a flash, he appeared in front of the angry-faced statue, and lightly pressed his palm on the statue's body. This time, when the great monument palm was unleashed, Tang Tian felt that it was different. Without turning his head, the palm with the heavenly crane gloves suddenly flicked his 5 fingers. When the crane body energy flowed through the heavenly crane glove, the sharp crane body energy suddenly expanded. The stone man with the angry face clenched his fist, but his fist style was rather strange. His thumb was like a tongue sandwiched between his index and middle finger. The red light in his eyes surged and he punched out. The red light around his fist surged and turned into a red fist mark. Like a cannonball, it whizzed toward Tang Tian's back. Great monument palm. Suddenly, Tang Tian's gaze fell on the spot where the crying face statue had been smashed into pieces by the great monument palm print. A red bead entered his vision. Tang Tian felt a burst of violent energy exploding in his left palm. The true power that was brimming with destructive power drilled into the meridians of his left arm. Tang Tian's chest tightened, but he forcefully circulated the crane body energy. and dispelled the true power that was drilling into the meridians of his left arm. Borrowing this force, he was like a rubber ball that had been ruthlessly hit by a wooden stick, and his forward speed suddenly increased. A stone man's red eyes flashed and his figure disappeared. Almost at the same time, Ghost Claw's slightly closed eyes suddenly opened. A cold light overflowed and his figure disappeared. Territory vortex. Tang Tian knew the expressions of these stone men. It was very strange, so he simply did not look. If he could wear it on his legs, then with the addition of the crane body energy, how strong would he be? The crying face statue's face was full of tears, with endless sorrow, despair and gloom. Its red eyes were like a sea of blood from hell, as if there were countless of blood rays surging endlessly. His target was the crying face statue. Every time it collided, its body would tremble, and a shallow pit would appear on its extremely hard body. The great monument palm brought along a low whistling sound, and suddenly smashed towards the crying face statue. The distance between him and the crying face statue in front of him rapidly shortened. The palm print was like a tablet, square like a stroke, thick and solid like a rock or iron. On the body of the palm print, there were two huge vermilion inscriptions. The red fist print plunged into the white vortex. The powerful red sword ray entered the great monument palm print, and just as it was about to pierce through, the two vermilion words "Boulder" on the monument palm print suddenly shone brightly, and the light blocked the red sword ray. The battle between both parties quickly became intense. Ghost Claw. Ding. A red sword ray as thick as an arm spewed out from the closed palms, and clashed with the great monument palm print. Tang Tian heaved a sigh of relief. Among the 5 statues, the flower-plucking statue gave him the strongest sense of danger. With the Ghost Claw leading it away, Tang Tian's pressure was greatly reduced. Both palms made the same hand gesture at the same time and suddenly closed together. His entire face appeared red. Dazzling sparks blossomed in the air. Bang! The crying face statue seemed to know how powerful it was, and retreated without hesitation. Such a strong claw force. The red sword ray entered 3 inches into the monument and disappeared. But the great monument palm print still brought along a low whistling sound, and suddenly smashed towards the crying face statue. The sound of Bing and the other 2 statues fighting came from behind. The strength of the statues was much stronger than Tang Tian expected, and their moves were strange and they had the advantage in numbers. Bang! He picked up the red pearl. The color of the pearl was the color of the statue's eyes. With a thought, Tang Tian ran to the place where the angry face statue was smashed to search, and indeed found a red pearl. His legs flew and he swept forward. At the same time he used the great monument palm with his left palm and waved it behind him. But it was a pity the heavenly crane gloves could only be worn on the hands. 10 6th level spirit nuclei in exchange for Ghost Claw to fight. The 6th level Ghost Claw was equally strong. Ghost Claw appeared beside Tang Tian, his skinny figure, but made Tang Tian feel at ease. The 2 words "boulder" turned from vermilion to almost transparent, and looked like it was about to disappear. Ping! The red sword ray instantly crumbled into countless red rays. Tang Tian was in a strange state and the entire battlefield seemed to be in his heart. Bing and the 2 statues fought and was not at a disadvantage. Those simple and clean moves, even Tang Tian felt that they were not moves, but in Bing's hands they had astonishing power. Compared to the green and red cross scythe previously, Bing's moves were even more simple and unadorned. Ka, the heavenly crane gloves in his hands changed shape, like a crane retracting its neck ready to strike. The Tan-Tue blade just now was unable to cause any damage to the statue, so Tang Tian simply used the great monument palm to win with his strength. The angry face statue roared in anger and tried to block, but there were too many white birds and it could not take care of them all. Pupiu, the crane body energy whirlpools of chi continuously hit its body. The crying face statue's red eyes suddenly brightened. Its thumb and index finger formed a circle. Its middle and ring finger were like a sword. Its little finger pointed outwards and pointed towards Tang Tian. Suddenly, Tang Tian understood. He had tried to use the crane body energy into the Shiro whirlpool before, but the power compared to this was like heaven and earth. The key was the heavenly crane gloves. When the heavenly crane energy reached a certain level of strength, then this move would have a qualitative leap. Just by relying on the heavenly crane gloves to strengthen the heavenly crane energy so greatly, this treasure was extremely useful to him. His aura surged. Tang Tian did not wait for the statue to make a move. He bent his waist and pounced forward. The flower-pinching statue's eyes glowed red, smiling as usual, the slender fingers pinching the flower in the air. Bing did not teach Tang Tian any specific martial techniques, but threw Tang Tian into different environments, and let Tang Tian adapt and adjust himself. From all directions they pounced towards the angry-faced statue. Tang Tian was extremely experienced in group attacks. Facing an attack from behind, he did not panic at all. He was very clear, to win in a pincer attack he must think of a way to offset the opponent's advantage in numbers, and think of a way to form a one-on-one situation. Only then would he have the chance to win. This was Tang Tian's first time using the heavenly crane gloves to fight, and the feeling was very different. The slender fingers pinching the flower and the skinny iron hook clashed, and both of them did not move an inch. The angry-faced statue behind Tang Tian became even more furious. It roared, its red eyes were like rolling flames, and punched again towards Tang Tian's back. The eyes of the statue were suffused with a demonic red, like red chalcedony. Those lively stone faces immediately had an indescribable gloominess. Tang Tian felt like he was being stared at by a snake. Slowly coming out from the aftertaste, Tang Tian was awoken by a few loud sounds. Bing cleanly smashed the two statues, and Ghost Claw's 5 fingers pierced through the chest of the flower-pinching statue. Tang Tian stood rooted to the ground, still reminiscing about the battle just now. His own strength had indeed improved a lot. He was not surprised that he had comprehended the killing technique of the Great Monument Palm. What really surprised him was the power of the white crane vortex. Ghost Claw's eyes were burning with fighting intent. His 5 fingers brushed through the air, bringing about dazzling sparks, straight towards the flower-pinching statue. That is, the 5-eyed statue made Tang Tian's hair stand. Monolith. The situation was disadvantageous to them, but Tang Tian had his own way. Ding. Tang Tian immediately laughed involuntarily. He was really like a snake trying to swallow an elephant. With this white crane vortex, his fighting strength would increase greatly in the future. In the past, the Shiratori vortex was mostly used to disturb the enemy and did not have any killing power. The fist seal and the white vortex continuously collided, and the fist seal was immediately swayed left and right by the high-speed spinning white vortex. The direction of the fist seal changed and shot out to the side. Meanwhile, the spiraling air masses that resembled white elves happily pounced towards the crying-faced stone man. The remaining force of the Great Monument Palm collided with the crying statue. Very quickly he found the other 3 red pearls. The heavenly crane gloves strengthened the crane body beyond Tang Tian's imagination, and the power of the Shiratori vortex that strengthened the crane body was also beyond Tang Tian's imagination. The 2 words monolith and the red sword aura quickly dimmed. In the future this technique will be called white crane vortex. But at this time the white vortex suddenly roared and the hidden crane body energy suddenly exploded. Every white vortex was a blade that was rotating at a high speed. The crying statue's red eyes flashed a trace of panic, and the air around it suddenly became stagnant. It seemed to know that it was a dangerous moment. His palm missed, but Tang Tian was not annoyed. The Great Monument Palm was able to pose a threat to the statue. This result made his eyes light up. Behind him, the angry-faced statue took the opportunity to sneak an attack. After a while, the outer layer of the blood scab peeled off, and a statue the size of an index finger impressively appeared in Tang Tian's hands. The statue's eyes were red on its forehead, on its left and right palms. There was an additional eye that looked like blood. 5-eyed statue. It was a habit for a long time, training hard day and night. Tang Tian had never been lazy. His Great Monument Palm had been trained to a very profound level, and was only one step away from comprehending the killing technique. Now that his life was threatened, his focus was unprecedentedly focused. The silver martial spirit was like a silver flame, silent and cold. The palm power penetrated through the body. Gu Shui saw that the situation was settled and immediately flew over. When she saw the statue in Tang Tian's hands, her face changed and she cried out. Chapter 156. He imitated the flower-plucking statue's flower-plucking hand gesture. The moment the gesture was completed, the true power in his body suddenly moved. Although it was very subtle, but he was sure that it was not an illusion. After that he ran out without hesitation. The red-eyed stoneman's strength should not be limited to this. From the books, the red-eyed star's rise was very fast, and their battle records were not bad. But they angered the Canine Vengeance constellation at that time and were destroyed. The red-eyed star then destroyed the star door to protect themselves, and after that they never appeared again. The red-eyed star's glorious period was very short, only 10 years. I remember it was because the red-eyed stone men were very special, they could fuse and form a higher-level existence, which was the five-eyed stone men. Ling Su reminded him out of goodwill but was mocked by Tang Tian and immediately became angry. You little hooligan, you dare to talk about justice with me? Come on. Don't talk nonsense. Let's have a good fight if I don't poke your butt into a beehive. Gu Shui bit his lips, his eyes filled with anger, and explained, Phylan's star belongs to Onyx Soul, and Onyx Soul will appoint a star leader to manage a planet like Phylan's star. Under the star leader there are 3 to 5 deacons. Phylan's star is relatively small, and only has 3 deacons. The star leader and deacons are experts in Onyx Soul and their strength is superb. The two of them just returned to the Gu family, and Gu Shui saw Mu Lei's worried face, and the smile on his face disappeared and he asked calmly, What happened? Five-eyed stone men? Tang Tian heard Gu Shui's exclamation and was curious. Gu Shui carefully reminded Tang Tian, Tian, you must not tell anyone you have the five-eyed stone men. But, you're already so old and you only know how to fight every day, young man, can you be more promising? I don't have time to play with you, you must learn from this godlike young man. Do you know why you can't beat me? Don't find excuses, young man, genius is 99% sweat. You. Tang Tian's face turned red. Gu Shui's face shows a rare hint of anger. Even if Su Changtian is the executive of Phylan's star, how can he interfere in the internal affairs of the Gu family? Is this it? Tang Tian turned the little person around. He widened his eyes and clicked his tongue in wonder. It looks really interesting. It actually has 5 eyes. There's a way. Tang Tian's spirit was suddenly lifted. After thinking for a while, he formed the flower-pinching gesture with his hands, calmed his mind and remained motionless. Bullshit. Ling Su's fur immediately exploded, he was enraged like thunder. They are nothing. I'll turn them into sieves with one shot. Tang Tian comforted Gu Shui. Ah Shui, don't be too anxious. If they do anything bad I'll beat them up. When a warm smile appeared on Tang Tian's face, Bing's body could not help but tremble. His eyes shone brightly. Gu Shui forced a smile, and, I need to get busy. Half an hour later, suddenly a warm feeling slowly rose from the Yongquan acupuncture point at the bottom of his feet. Tang Tian felt as though he was soaking in the sun. His whole body was warm and comfortable. On his face, a smile surfaced. Seeing Gu Shui's panicked expression, Tang Tian tilted his head and thought for a while. He walked into the inner courtyard and found Ling Su, who was practicing his spear. Hey Ling Su, do you know about the Su Shi group? Bing was paying attention to Tang Tian from the start. Activate blood meridians? Tang Tian's eyes lit up. He passed it to Gu Shui. For you. It will definitely help your recessive blood meridians. Is it very powerful? I think it's very average. It's just that the moves are a little weird. Tang Tian's mouth twitched. He started to reveal his usual arrogant look. The enraged Ling Su quietened down. Disgust surfaced in his eyes. Su Chang'an? Out of the 3 Shi, that fellow is the greediest. His actions are rude and unreasonable. The Shi group under him is the same as him. They are not good people. They have bad intentions. After the initial shock, Tang Tian regained his fearless and ignorant look. Gu Shui's eyes were as clear as water. Gu Shui laughed. I definitely don't have any blood meridians, I just swallowed the dwarf blood meridians and angel blood meridians, and there was no reaction at all. It's a waste to give it to me. With this, maybe Shui, you don't have to use such a dangerous method to activate your blood meridians. Tang Tian saw the worry in Gu Shui's eyes. He understood, and, go. Ling Su stopped. He frowned. You offended the Shi group? That group of people are a bunch of lunatics. They are very troublesome. Tang Tian immediately looked at him with disdain. So you are afraid of these people? Tang Tian looked at Ling Su with disdain. I thought you had turned over a new leaf and found justice. So you are still the same. Mu Lei nodded his head. Good. So powerful. Tang Tian sucked in a breath of cold air. There were 3 of them in the top 50. That is to say, there were 3 experts like the Hua brothers under Su Changtian. Logically, the Xianxia group will not interfere with the family's internal affairs. This is an unwritten rule of Phylan's star. Every year we've paid enough tribute. Gu Shue's face turned ugly. She forced herself to calm down. She raised her head and said to Mu Lei, "Uncle Mu, go and ask around. See if you can find out why the Xianxia group is coming to the Gu family." Tang Tian grabbed Gu Shui and soared into the sky. "Come on. Let us fight to our heart's content. Let us use our fists to decide who is right and who is wrong." Tang Tian was enraged. He pointed at Bing. At that moment he had actually lost track of Tang Tian in his perception. One spear turned them into sieves? Tang Tian was stunned. But after thinking about Ling Su's pointed sea spears, he felt that the description was rather fitting. Gu Shui bit her lips. She did not say anything. He did not wait for Gu Shui to speak. He looked at the sky and said, "It's getting late. You have to go back. Let's go." "What is a deacon?" Tang Tian was curious. Tang Tian shouted, "I obviously finished the battle before you." Upon entering the recruit barracks, Tang Tian threw the Xianxia group to the back of his mind. All his attention was focused on his martial techniques. He did not enter the Valley of Starvation immediately. Instead he got into position and started to train. Tang Tian rolled his eyes. He waved his hand and turned to leave. His voice was heard. Ling Su's face was flushed red. He was so angry that his body was trembling. Bing sneered, "That's because you have the heavenly crane gloves. Watch your tone. You don't know how to respect the old and cherish the young. Oh, you don't even respect your teacher." If this was in the past, any recruit in the recruit barracks would be able to deal with these 5 stone men. To let the instructor take action is a disgrace to any recruit. Oh, you even spent 10 6th level spirit nuclei to get Ghost Claw out. Trading at a loss is the greatest humiliation of all. Also sweat, you asshole. Who was the one who trained the entire day and who was the one who went out to play? Gu Shue's heart warmed. He shook his head firmly. "It's too valuable. Also, I don't have the ability to keep it. Tian, you haven't activated your blood meridians. You need it." After teasing Ling Su, Tang Tian felt extremely good. All his worries were thrown out of his mind. He did not realize that some of his actions had unknowingly been influenced by Bing. He remembered the 5 hand gestures very clearly. He imitated them one by one. Every hand gesture had a reaction from different parts of the true power. Although the reaction was weak, Tang Tian's intuition was very strong. He could still sense it. The last time Tang Tian beat him, it was when he did not have his gun. But this rascal used the phrase, "Don't ever find excuses," which caused him to suffer an internal injury. Uncle Mu said 5 days later, Su Chongtian's Su Xianxia group will come to investigate the battle on the street. Tang Tian told them the news he just received. When Tang Tian started to imitate it, he frowned. He did not approve of Tang Tian trying things that he did not know of because it could easily be dangerous. But he did not stop him immediately. He was prepared for Tang Tian to return empty-handed. Then he would emphasize the danger to this rascal. Gu Shui saw Tang Tian and Bing bickering. He could not help but snicker. To prevent the two of them from fighting, she decided to continue. Once he opened his mouth, he attracted the attention of the two. Very powerful. They were sent by the higher-ups. Su Chongtian's ranking in Phylan's star is 13. He is much more powerful than the Hua brothers. Also, the Su Xianxia group has the authority to form their own Su Xianxia group. Although there are not many people in Su Chongtian's Su Xianxia group, only 10 of them. But all of them are experts. There are 3 of them in the top 50. The rest are definitely in the top 100. You bastard. And the 5-eyed golem is very rare. Although people do not like the red-eyed golem, the 5-eyed golem is very popular. It was auctioned for a sky-high price. This was because it had a very magical effect. Its 5 eyes could release different beams of light. These light beams can gradually activate the hidden blood meridians in your body. Tang Tian, who was often mocked and ridiculed by Bing to the point of stamping with rage in front of Ling Su, he seemed to be at ease. The 5 postures of the 5 red-eyed golems in the day were very special to him. With that, Tang Tian stuffed the 5-eyed golem into Gu Shue's hands. That's it. Bing could not stand it anymore. He snorted. Their martial spirits are already so weak. You spent so much time and you still have the cheek to be proud? Tang Tian's eyes widened. How powerful are they? Mu Lei smiled bitterly. I just received news that the Su Shi group will be coming to the Gu family to investigate the battle on the street in 5 days. They are requesting for our cooperation. Aren't you going to participate in the Starry Door trials? If you offend Su Changtian, don't even think of passing. Ling Su glanced at Tang Tian. Bing rolled his eyes. The disdain on his face deepened. Brats these days are really insensible. In our era there would never be such a talented young man. Challenging his own instructor. Oh right. He actually did not pass the recruit training. This is really an era that challenges the lower limit. Gu Shui nodded his head vigorously. About 1,000 years after the Scorpio dynasty, there was a planet that suddenly became famous. It was called the Red-Eyed Planet. The Red-Eyed Planet had a very special thing. It was called the Red-Eyed Golem. I should have thought of it earlier. The Red-Eyed Golem's strength was rather outstanding. They even formed an army of the Red-Eyed Golem to fight everywhere. They came with ill intentions. Tang Tian snorted. His expression darkened. They better know what's good for them. If not, don't blame me for being ruthless. Chapter 157. Ling Su rolled his eyes. He could not be bothered with the idiot. Gong Yishio's appearance was handsome and delicate, a faint smile always hanging on his face. He took small sips of wine, patiently cutting the ribs in front of him along the bones, one small piece at a time, then using a fork to send it into his mouth. His etiquette was impeccable and his language was friendly. His intuition had increased by 5 times and he could feel the huge changes it would bring to him. The world around him had become completely different. It was extremely clear and he could see everything clearly. Tang Tian's 6 senses had all been upgraded. 18 times of intuition. What a weird and interesting martial technique. Tang Tian's tone was filled with surprise. If there is a chance in the future and I can find Red-Eye Star, I must definitely pay my respects. Tang Tian was stunned. No reaction? He immediately changed to the ethereal style and said, "Try this." Tang Tian was immersed in the 5 weird hand styles and forgot himself. The 5 hand styles, all had their own wonders and Tang Tian named them as the Grasping Flower style, Weeping Sword style, Angry Fist style, Ethereal style and Imposing style. Tang Tian saw that Ling Su had taken the bait and laughed in his heart, but he pretended to be calm and displayed the Grasping Flower style. Tang Tian found Ling Su and spoke with the tone of a boss. "Come, I will teach you a few interesting martial techniques." But Bing was experienced. He quickly adjusted his attitude and did not think about the 5 golem styles, but considered the change in intuition and the influence it brought. The big man was called Unan, ranked 39 on Phylan's star. Xianxia acted as though he did not see it and said, "With Master's help the mechanical weapons can be sold to every corner of Onyx Soul. 30% is more than enough for us to spend. Furthermore, 70% seems like a lot. How can Master's superior not give it to us?" Xianxia's tone was calm. He had enough confidence to say that. Phylan's star was ranked 20th. Even compared to the deacon, he was only 7 ranks behind. Other martial techniques would have to go through a period of unfamiliarity, familiarity and improvement, but these 5 moves did not. Ever since the 5 meridians had been opened, the power of the 5 forms had exploded in an instant. After that it had not increased at all. He thought of Ling Su. Of the 5 golem styles, apart from the Weeping Sword style and the Rage Fist style, which were not suitable for Ling Su, the other 3 styles were suitable for Ling Su. No way, Ling Su doesn't even dare to try? Are you afraid that you won't be able to learn and embarrass yourself? Oh dear. You can't be that timid, right? Tang Tian looked very surprised. The others remained silent. He casually struck a solemn pose. Although it was just an imitation, his movements were very accurate. Tang Tian had never heard of 5 completely unknown and mysterious meridians. He asked Bing, but Bing also shook his head. Rank 20 and rank 50, although it looked like there was only a difference of 30 ranks, the 2 were on completely different levels. Even the Hua brothers together were not a match for Xianxia. If the top 50 martial artists were the top of the food chain on Phylan's star, then Xianxia would be at the top. "Are you sure that's a mechanical weapon from the Southern Cross Army?" The man who spoke took a sip of red wine. The food in front of him was not touched at all. He carefully felt the rich changes of the red wine in his mouth. His expression changed from time to time. When Bing heard that, he stood rooted to the ground. Bing's dumbstruck look made Tang Tian feel an indescribable joy. But Tang Tian also knew that the empty spirit style had raised his intuition to its limit. It would not improve anymore in the future. I've seen your work before. It's really not bad. Xianxia opened his eyes and nodded. I've discussed this business with Master before. Master's very supportive. You guys know that Master's relationship with Onyx Soul is very deep. Since he supports us, we will not be making a small fuss. But 70% of the profits will be given to Master. The rest will be split among us. Xianxia took a sip of red wine. After a while, he said indifferently, do they have the right to not know what's good for them? Tang Tian was filled with curiosity towards the red-eye star that flashed like a shooting star. What kind of planet could give birth to such a mystical martial technique? Unan's expression returned to normal. He said, I hope the Gu family knows what's good for them. Tang Tian did not disturb him and left the recruit barracks. On the third day, Tang Tian opened his eyes. There are 4 people. Chief of the Sushi group Xianxia, Unan, So Guang and Gong Yixio. Mu Lei's face was ashen. Although there were only 4 people from the Sushi group, anyone who saw the name list would not have any thoughts of luck. Tang Tian was bursting with confidence in his own strength. The moment the solemn stance was formed, a change occurred. Bang Lingsu's eyes flared up. He stopped and turned around. His face was full of anger as he rushed over. Coward? You're talking about yourself. Come on. I want to see what kind of bullshit martial technique this is. Tang Tian decided to call them the 5 stoneman stances. Ling Su laughed sinisterly. You have guts. Just wait for me to poke you into a beehive. I hate it when my own plans are interrupted. Bing's tone was unhappy. But he still said, seems like you need a new short-term training to deal with the upcoming battle. If Tang Tian were to revolve his true power, he would be able to guide the true power in his body into the corresponding meridians. Every single hand stance had a completely different effect. The grasping flower stance made the person feel warm and comfortable. It was also Tang Tian's favorite stance. The weeping sword stance made the person immersed in a faint sorrow. Even the true power seemed to carry a faint sorrow. The angry fist stance made the person feel as though his body was burning up. His fighting spirit was high and fearless. The empty spirit stance made the person's spirit become clear and pure. The feeling of the 5 senses was greatly improved. But the solemn stance made the person's heart like a boulder. No. Mu Lei shook his head. His gaze was blank. Tang Tian felt that he was unprecedentedly strong. Humph, those Sushi group better not cause trouble. If they do, I'll beat their butts like popcorn. Ling Su imitated him. There was still no reaction. Ling Su's eyes twitched. His entire body temperature rose. His rage value broke through 100 points. You're really making fun of me. You actually dare to make fun of me. When one's intuition reached 15 times that of an ordinary martial artist, it would be known as multiple levels. This was what Bing called it. Xianxia. Xianxia awoke from the wonderful taste of the fine wine in his mouth. He was not modest. He casually said, if you're wrong, you'll be in deep trouble. This person's strength was enough to wipe out the entire Gu family. This person was vicious and merciless. He was unreasonable. His hands were stained with blood. Suo Guang mumbled, Master's share is too much. Suo Guang Phylon star rank 52. His square face was as though it was carved by a knife. His eyes were slightly closed. No one could tell if he was happy or angry. He was dressed in a clean white robe. Even though he was tasting wine, he sat upright. I need 2 hours. Bing said straightforwardly. After 2 hours you can come again. The 5 stances flowed endlessly. Gong Yixio laughed bitterly. Boss, how little confidence do you have in me? This is too sad. Does the heavens want the Gu family to die? Gong Yixio puffed out his chest. His tone was filled with strong confidence. That's right. As long as you give me the real Southern Cross Army mechanical weapon, I will definitely be able to replicate it. In fact, my replica is already very close to the real thing. It was a very strange and interesting 5 stances. Tang Tian also found out the uses of the 5 stances. The weeping sword style and the angry fist style were undoubtedly the most suitable for battles, while the grasping flower style was extremely helpful for training true power, and the solemn style trained one's willpower. These 2 styles were extremely useful for daily training and could be used for a long time. What shocked Tang Tian the most was the ethereal stance. The ethereal stance could strengthen one's intuition. In a short span of 3 days, Tang Tian's intuition had suddenly increased from 13 times to 18 times. Unan nodded his head. That's right. But Xiao, are you sure you can replicate it? A carriage with the Zhou Xian group's insignia was flying in the air. He was just one step away from the highest point. Gu Shue's expression was slightly better. The trials and tribulations had made her determined. She suppressed the depression and despair in her heart. She tried her best to calm herself down. Did you find out their goal? The 5 meridians had the same characteristics. They were extremely remote and narrow. In the corner, Su Guang's mouth was stuffed with meat. He mumbled, "What mechanical techniques? Xiao is still very reliable." I heard that the Hua brothers died in their hands. A fierce-looking bearded man said, "To be able to kill the Hua brothers, they must not be weak." The 5 hand stances were completely different from the current martial techniques. Every hand stance corresponded to a meridian. The 5 hand stances corresponded to 5 meridians. Just leave it to boss. A nonchalant voice came out from the corner. A skinny figure was holding onto a lamb leg with one hand. The other hand was pouring wine into his mouth. His cheeks were flushed red. His eyes were hazy. His entire body was stained with oil. I can't be wrong. Gong Yishio chuckled. His tone was firm. It's called saber-toothed tiger. It's a bronze rank. It's one of the Southern Cross Army's standard mechanical weapons. After so many years, the Southern Cross Army's standard mechanical weapons are pitifully rare. This is such a good opportunity. If we let it go, we will be struck by lightning. Seems like you've gained quite a lot. Bing teased. But his tone was filled with curiosity. Such a weird martial technique was unimaginable. Ling Su snorted. He did it perfectly. After a while, he stared at Tang Tian impatiently. You're making fun of me? The light in his eyes moved. There was a layer of faint light. After a while, the layer of faint light slowly disappeared. Hey Ling Su. That's true. Gong Yishio nodded his head in agreement. For someone like me who is ranked 79, it's better for me to stay at the side and live off a woman. The last one. Tang Tian interrupted Ling Su's roar. He adopted a dignified stance. If it doesn't work, I'll admit defeat. Gong Yishio chuckled. He broke the silence. That's right. Who knows, I might even become the #1 mechanical engineer. Shut up. Xianxia snorted. The temperature in the room dropped. Su Guang's body froze. Xia Yan glanced at him and said blandly, "Don't let me hear such words again. Our actions this time are very taboo. The Gu family's tribute has always been sufficient. The Zhou Xian group has never interfered with the internal affairs of other families. If we incite the opposition from the other family's old monsters, we will need Master to help us." Xianxia was the chief deacon of the Zhou Xian group. Chapter 158. Gu Shuai and Mu Lei rushed over with a face of shock. "Don't touch him." Bing anxiously stopped Tang Tian. The old man was silent. After a long while, he nodded, "Yes." "Really?" Gu Shuai was completely relieved. He was extremely excited and spoke incoherently. "That's great. That's great. Old man Yu is willing to make a move. Xianxia and the rest will definitely have misgivings." "Hey." Ling Su, who had calmed himself down, turned to look at Tang Tian, and waved the silver spear in his hand. "Thank you for this move. Su, you have to realize your own dreams and not your teacher's dreams." The little boy stopped crying. He raised his head. The pair of teary eyes were filled with curiosity. "Teacher, has anyone mastered the real pointed sea spear?" Suddenly, Ling Su had an epiphany that was willpower. "Ling Su, do you want to give up?" "No, definitely not." Gu Shuai's request for help finally let the Gu family see a glimmer of hope. Finished, he waved his hand at Gu Shuai and Mu Lei and disappeared. Threads of power from the tightly bound spine were transmitted to his fingers. The chi that was released was the power that was out of control. He was full of patience and slowly kept the power back. His temper was explosive, but facing his own body he was unusually patient. He was very clear his body was as fragile as glass, even if he trained his 10 fingers to be like steel, but the other parts of his body were shockingly weak. The fingers that held the spear lightly rubbed. Pain and power, such contradictory feelings at this moment, were clearly and ingeniously mixed together. With willpower one could master the pointed sea spear. Willpower was to never give up no matter what. Relying on his astonishing willpower, Ling Su began to gradually get used to the waves of pain coming from his spine. After getting used to the pain, he tried to control the situation. Ling Su suddenly laughed out loud. 2 streams of tears rolled down his cheeks, like dewdrops reflecting the sunlight. Buzz. No. Teacher, I will definitely master the pointed sea spear. I want to realize teacher's dream. Ha 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 ha. Ah. Hoo hoo hoo. Gu Shui heaved a sigh of relief. Just as she was about to persuade Tang Tian to leave earlier, she heard Tang Tian muttering to himself, "No, if I'm really surpassed by Ling Su, I'll lose face." The little boy found it hard to understand. What was a genius bad guy? He nodded, not really understanding. Little Su, I'll remember. Teacher, how did he master the pointed sea spear? Su, you don't have to cultivate your spear arts anymore. As long as you're alive, I'll be very happy. The little boy nodded heavily. He had memorized it. Who is he? Is it very powerful? The little boy was filled with curiosity. An astonishing aura with Ling Su as the center suddenly exploded. The irritable qi that enveloped the Gu family disappeared without a trace, as though it was just an illusion. The pointed sea spear that Ling Su used was twice as big as usual. Teacher, what is willpower? The little boy asked with his eyes wide open. Bang! Gu Shui's face was filled with joy. Let the people below get ready, use the highest etiquette and welcome old man Yu. It's a good thing for him. Bing said solemnly, as long as he can endure it. Ling Su's face was still in pain, but he slowly opened his eyes. The orange-red color was calm. The dignified meridians were connected, the threads of energy continuously drilled into his spine from his heart, continuously producing that steel-like energy and poured into his fingers. Gu Shui and Mu Lei could only look at each other and smile bitterly. Just at this time, suddenly, a person barged in with a face full of ecstasy. He was the messenger that Gu Shui had sent out. Like a wild beast's instinctive howl, it resonated throughout the entire Gu family. Everyone who heard it could not help but look at the courtyard where Ling Su and Tang Tian were at in fear. No matter what, I will not give up. The pain did not lessen at all, but instead became more intense. But the feeling of his fingers being filled with energy was so clear, so enchanting. Ling Su gasped for breath. His orange-red eyes stared blankly at his fingers. This time the pain, other than being pricked by needles, there was also a bone-piercing chill. Under the intense pain, Ling Su's body bent like a prawn. A sea of pointed sea spears like the stars brought along a soul-shaking scream and breathtaking splendor sprinkled out. In the world of ice and snow, a skinny figure bent his back on the thick layer of ice, used his fingers to continuously dig at the ice layer that was harder than steel. Plop! The exhausted little boy fell to the ground on his buttocks and he burst into tears. Gu Shui and Mu Lei were stunned at the same time, and immediately revealed a look of ecstasy. The lonely, skinny, deformed figure kept on falling in the snow, occasionally groaning in pain. The boy's face was always sickly pale like the snow on the ground. Until one day he accidentally used his fingers to rub the wooden spear, and the wooden spear suddenly shot out. Willpower was the bridge between pain and power. The intense pain made him howl like a wild beast. His raised face was filled with pain, his face distorted. The ice breath pierced the deformed bones in his body, producing an intense pain, which was 100 times stronger than usual. His mind was blank. After an unknown period of time, an old man slowly walked out from the void, holding on to a little boy. Bing! What is he doing? Tang Tian was extremely anxious. Idiot! Ling Su rolled his eyes through the back of his blue head to Tang Tian, and walked forward without looking back. Be careful, don't be left far behind by me, then I will think of you as a burden. He was stunned and shouted excitedly, causing the snow on the trees to shake and fall. Willpower is to not give up no matter what. The teacher caressed the little boy's head and encouraged him warmly. Su must also be a man with willpower in the future. A power far beyond his imagination exploded from his fingers and the spear suddenly disappeared. Ling Su felt that his 10 fingers suddenly became as strong as steel. Tang Tian stared blankly at the soul-shocking pointed sea spear. It was slowly dissipating in the air. When Ling Su's silver spear disappeared from his hands, he actually did not catch it. The deep black metallic luster on his 10 fingers was so eye-catching, the power that permeated it made him stunned. The pain in his body was like an endless wave, continuously attacking him. But he felt the sky was so beautiful, the sun was so bright, the world was so beautiful. Teacher, I will definitely be able to master the real pointed sea spear. Tang Tian turned pale with fright. He was shocked by the unforeseen event and wanted to rush forward. Ling Su waved his hand, did not reply, and left without looking back. I must have willpower, I must be able to master the pointed sea spear. Ling Su's mind was blank. The intense pain was like thousands of needles stabbing into his body. His entire body was covered with cuts and bruises. It was not the first time he encountered such pain, although he would soak in the medicinal liquid regularly, but after a period of time his body could not bear the burden, and would always bring him a big movement. Su, don't be sad, actually it's okay, teacher also did not master the real pointed sea spear. Old man, you said this precedent cannot be set. He has already contacted a few experts from the other families. The messenger was also extremely excited. He will be here soon. The experts from the other families will come one after another. Chapter 159. Tang Tian spoke eloquently and claimed that the mask was naturally suitable for Ling Su because the black and white were distinct. I know where to find the map. Tang Tian said, it is in the luggage that Shui prepared for us to go to the Stargate trials. Gu Shui and Mu Lei did not expect that their discussion would be heard by Tang Tian. Tang Tian listened for a while and roughly understood. The helpers that Gu Shui found needed 3 days to arrive, and the Su Shi group needed 1.5 days to arrive, and Gu Shui was thinking of ways to delay until the helpers arrived. Tang Tian finally heaved a sigh of relief, to be able to struggle out of hell and see the light of day again. When he once again bathed in the sunlight, he almost cried tears of joy. Although it was only a short period of time, but Tang Tian felt as though he had struggled for a long time. Tang Tian and Ling Su nodded their heads. As the chief instructor of an army, it was an easy task for him to formulate a small-scale battle plan. No one cared about him. Then what do we do now? Unan frowned and asked, if we really make a big fuss, then even Master will not be able to get away with it. Then he looked at the other 3 masks, orangutan, horseface, cat. He could only silently choose the panda mask. He even changed the spear in his hand to a common steel spear. Phylan Star's local power was strong, but they also understood, they were still under the rule of Onyx Soul, so they lived in harmony for the past few years. But this time what Xianxia and the rest did could not be seen in public. It was equivalent to giving the other party an excuse. But if they were to give up on the Southern Cross Army's mechanical weapons, everyone would be unwilling. Ling Su uncomfortably touched the mask on his face. He felt that this could be the most humiliating day of his life. The charmingly naive panda mask on his face always gave him the urge to tear it off. Another advantage of Crane Beak Valley as an ambush location is that it is surrounded by the Black Mountain Forest. The terrain there is complicated and it is very suitable to shake off the enemy's pursuit. As long as Tang Tian and I are within 200 li of each other, we can return to him. We can make good use of this. Bing did not care about him and continued. The Crane Beak Valley has a few high elevations, and other than the airflow within the Crane Beak Valley being calmer, the airflow outside the valley and in the sky is rather chaotic, and not suitable for the carriage to fly. Moreover, they would never expect to be ambushed. This is very advantageous to us. Just as he left Ling Su's courtyard, Tang Tian suddenly heard Gu Shui and Mu Lei discussing in low voices. Perhaps it was due to his enhanced intuition, but Tang Tian's hearing was much better than before. How far is the Su Shi group from here? Gu Shui asked Mu Lei. Have you memorized the escape route? Bing had the posture of a veteran soldier. The dumbstruck Tang Tian was kicked into the chamber of the 18 bronze figures by Bing, and then began his hellish life of training. Black and white, you asshole. To celebrate his temporary escape from the abyss of suffering, Tang Tian decided to rest for an hour today and relax. He strolled around the courtyard aimlessly, while Ling Su was bitterly training his spear arts. After watching for a while, Tang Tian realized that Ling Su's spear arts had improved tremendously. Ling Su retorted sarcastically, if you have the ability, don't run. Tang Tian even suspected that the 18 trash were taking the opportunity to take revenge. Their attacks were dark and ruthless. Even with Tang Tian's intuition increased by 18 times, he was still tortured to the point that he wished he was dead. Tang Tian's face was full of joy, and he took out 4 colorful masks from his back. Everyone's attention was roused and they hid themselves, waiting for a sneak attack. Bing continued, "Our goal is to drag time, so we cannot let them completely lose their target so that they will continue to come to the Gu family." A ruthless look flashed past Xianxia's eyes. "We need to increase our speed and get it before Old Man Yu. When it's in our hands, the initiative is in our hands. Does anyone know if there's a shortcut? Go. Abandon the carriage." Xianxia made a decision without hesitation and turned to order, "Slow down the carriage." The three of them looked at Xianxia. He was the boss of this small group. Everyone was regretting they should not have sent a letter to the Gu family. They thought with the Su Shi group's name, the Gu family would definitely not dare to resist. It was just a mechanical weapon, although it was rare, but to incur hatred with the Su Shi group, the majority of people would not do such a stupid thing. Suo Guang said, "I know of a shortcut. It's not easy to walk, but we can save half a day." Unwilling to be left out, Gong Ishio's mouth exposed a sneer. Although Old Man Yu's strength is not the strongest, but he is old, experienced and has enough prestige. Phylan's Star and the other local powers already have enmity with our Su Shi group. If this time he is able to unite a few families and make us suffer, then the name of Phylan's Star's #1 big shot will be established. The young lady is powerful. The person you chose is really suitable. The sunlight was still the most comfortable. No problem, Ling Su will definitely not have a problem. If he does not do it, then he will be going against his teacher's teachings. Tang Tian shook his head and imitated Ling Su's tone. "For justice." As expected, very quickly Tang Tian found the map. And the conspirators had one more person, Ling Su. Tang Tian was right when he brought out the righteous words "for justice." Ling Su agreed. The childish Tang Tian, wearing an orangutan mask, would occasionally imitate the orangutan and let out weird sounds. Bing's complexion was not good. He could only choose a horse mask. Only this mask was suitable for his poker face. Ghost Claw was a cat. Using Tang Tian's words, they all used their claws. If it was the solemn style, then it should be willpower, but how can willpower be improved? Furthermore, from the situation that day, the solemn style and Ling Su obviously had some kind of resonance. This fellow actually caused the solemn style to resonate. It was really weird. "That's right." Bing nodded. "Your strength, although not as good as Xianxia, but if Xianxia wants to kill you, it will not be that easy." Gu Shui clenched his teeth. "We have to think of a way to delay them. Only Old Man Yu can handle them." It could be seen that Ling Su, whose strength had increased greatly, was eager to have a battle. Xianxia, who was ranked 20th, how strong was he? No one had any idea. "They're here. They came from Mingwang City, so they can only take this route." Bing drew a path on the map, then pointed to a place. "They are sitting in a carriage. That means they have a certain altitude. So the most suitable place for us to ambush is here." He suddenly thought about the Golem 5 techniques. His improvement was his intuition, but what did Ling Su improve on? Tang Tian admitted that his willpower was definitely not weak, but even so, his resonance with the solemn style was far from Ling Su's. So weird. The difficulty of the chamber of the 18 bronze figures could actually be adjusted. His words were impolite, but no one objected. "Asshole. Wasted 10 minutes of my time." Tang Tian mocked. "Ling Su, you're too cowardly. We haven't even started fighting and you're only thinking about escaping." "What's the escape route?" Ling Su asked. Not long later, a luxurious carriage appeared in everyone's vision. Tang Tian, who quietly retreated, immediately thought of a brilliant idea. Suo Guang mumbled, "Old Man, you must be tired of living to actually take the initiative to cause trouble. What is he trying to do?" Bing's thoughts were clear, orderly, and immediately caused Tang Tian's confidence to soar, as expected of a professional. "You, me, Ling Su, Ghost Claw, the four of us, we need a map and ambush them at the intersection. We need to disguise ourselves and prepare the escape route and hiding spots. Ghost Claw will cover the rear. The loss of him being killed is that you will not be able to summon him out again in the next 10 days. Xianxia glanced at the report and said indifferently, "Seems like the young lady is smarter than we thought." But it has to be said, Bing's method was effective. The 18 trash were familiar with Tang Tian's attack methods, and under the situation where their strength was doubled, they completely suppressed Tang Tian. Tang Tian scolded in his heart, and without hesitation he turned and left. Ling Su understood. That means we have to run, but we can't run too fast. The thickness of Tang Tian's skin had obviously exceeded Ling Su's imagination. Tang Tian laughed mischievously. Watch how I beat them up like dogs. Could it be that this rascal's willpower was very strong? The four of them soared from the carriage and landed in the dense forest below. Tang Tian watched for a while and decided to throw the question to the back of his head. It was not easy to get an hour of relief, and to waste it on Ling Su. Tang Tian was not happy at all. They are coming from Mingwang City and should still be a day and a half away. They are sitting in a carriage. Mu Lei's tone revealed a tinge of nervousness. Old man Yu and the rest will need about 3 days to reach. In Tang Tian's impression, Ling Su was definitely the most bad-tempered person he had ever met, and would explode at the slightest provocation. Although this rascal kept on talking about justice, but Tang Tian felt that this rascal was actually more suitable to be a bandit and kill people. The place Bing pointed to was Crane Beak Valley. There's only one problem left: disguise. Bing touched his chin. Our goal is not to fight to the death with them but to delay them and let them fight with old man Yu. So we need to disguise. That's right, we need to think of a way. Mu Lei was also at his wit's end. Bing understood Tang Tian's intention and started to think from a professional point of view. If it's just to delay them, if we are fully prepared, it is still possible. They completely did not expect that Gu Shue's reaction would be so intense. The hellish training only took a short period of time, and Tang Tian had squeezed out all the room for improvement in his intuition. Tang Tian laughed. I like this name. Seeing the name Crane in the name, Tang Tian felt that it was very close. The information was quickly passed around in the hands of the few of them, and their faces were not good. Bing formulated a new training plan for Tang Tian's sudden increase in intuition. The new plan was simple. Bing increased the difficulty of the chamber of the 18 bronze figures. Hey Bing, if we do a sneak attack, do you think we can delay the Sushur group? Tang Tian told Bing his thoughts. Chapter 160. Tang Tian could be considered to be experienced. Upon seeing the panic in the eyes of the man in front of him, he knew that the opponent's strength was not too strong. Bing and Ghost Claw immediately broke away from the battle, one on the left and one on the right. They split up and escaped. The carriage dropped down freely. Ling Su's figure that was flying in the air was filled with elegance. But at the moment he was like a blazing flame that was being blown by the wind. His eyes were burning, every part of his body was burning. The ice-cold black spear was burning red, releasing an astonishing amount of heat. The plan was a success. Bastard. You're dead. The female bodyguard's eyes flashed with a trace of panic, but she quickly calmed down, her sword tip moving at an extremely high frequency, continuously moving. The carriage got closer and closer. On the carriage hung an eye-catching sign, but Tang Tian and the rest did not recognize it. From the specifications, it was extremely luxurious, and appearing at this time was extremely compatible with their goal. The two of them quickly distanced themselves. Kill. Among the crowd, a few people rushed over wanting to block them. With a thought, Tang Tian's figure disappeared, and he hid behind the white-run crane vortex. The big-statured man bellowed and punched out. Tang Tian's luck was not bad. Bing and Ghost Claw were in a tough battle. He was like a real gorilla moving freely in the dense forest. The little girl who was tied up tightly on his back widened her obsidian-like eyes and looked curiously at the guy wearing a gorilla mask in front of her. The opponent was struck by lightning, spitting out a mouthful of blood. Tang Tian's palm imprinted on the opponent's body. Borrowing the momentum, he floated and rushed past the opponent's defense. Tang Tian's heart was immediately filled with joy. Success was right in front of him. The female bodyguard was tall, her hair was golden yellow, tied into a ponytail. In her hand was a cold sword, looking somewhat valiant and heroic. After running like that for an entire day, night fell and the dense forest became gloomy and terrifying. The pursuers behind still had no intention of giving up, but their speed had obviously slowed down, causing Tang Tian to have no choice but to stop for a longer period of time. Almost before he finished speaking, the stars in the sky poured down like rain, enveloping the entire carriage. A look of ecstasy appeared in the other party's eyes. A good chance. Without thinking, he took the initiative to attack. The steel saber in his hand flashed a few cold rays, aiming straight for Tang Tian's flaws. Once the distance was misjudged, there would often be a short period of paralysis. This was a very good opportunity. However, at this time Tang Tian's figure suddenly moved, dodging the saber by a hair's breadth. The sharp white vortexes were like high-speed rotating blades, like a flock of startled white cranes, instantly filling her vision. In his field of vision, the target carriage was rapidly expanding. The blazing battle intent was like roiling lava. The graceful figure in midair suddenly let out a thunderous roar. The spear was like an arrow that had left the bow, but his body was like a leaf that was as light as a feather, flying along with the momentum of the spear. Ling Su seemed to have drilled out from the void beside the carriage, bringing with him a piercingly cold and dazzling spear aura. Like an ancient knight, he rushed towards the carriage. Puff! White crane vortex. Tang Tian took the chance to snatch the girl from the female guard's hands. The female guard's eyes flashed with panic, but Tang Tian did not give her the chance to fight, and flew down without hesitation. Do it! Tang Tian and the other two moved at the same time. The spear tip suddenly disappeared, and at the same time Ling Su's figure also disappeared. In that moment Tang Tian realized the importance of the target. Although he did not know who the girl was, but the enemy of my enemy is my friend, this phrase he still understood. When his feet touched the ground, he immediately shouted at the top of his lungs, "Run!" The carriage immediately split into pieces, the strong qi wherever it passed, the thick body of the carriage immediately crumbled into pieces. Screams and curses came out from the carriage. It was a mess. The carriage that had lost control stopped in the air. If he ran till tomorrow morning, he would more or less reach the planned location. Based on the current situation, he did not even need Ghost Claw to help him shake off the pursuers. Ling Su knew how powerful he was. As expected, he was strong. "How dare you!" A roar suddenly came out from the carriage. A majestic figure suddenly appeared in front of the carriage. The cold aura blossoming in front of him was like rain, but his expression did not change at all. Tang Tian was astonished. The female guard's sword techniques were rather solid, her attainments were not bad, but she obviously did not know how to fight. Tang Tian noticed another detail. The female guard's protection of the girl was more important than her own protection. Seeing how nervous the female guard was towards the girl, it was obvious that she was an extremely important hostage. If they could capture her, then they would not have to worry whether or not the group of people would chase after them. Bang! Tang Tian immediately realized the girl was extremely important to Xianxia and the rest. Chua! Tang Tian, who was in the air, seemed to have misjudged the distance and rushed a little too fast. Zai! Tang Tian quickly placed his attention on the scene. He found a valuable target. In the hands of a female guard, there was a little girl who was previously tied up tightly. Her mouth was gagged. It could be seen that the female guard's sword technique was very strict, quite a bit of proficiency, but such a textbook attack was obviously not enough to deal with Tang Tian. The big man's pupils suddenly shrank. A trace of surprise flashed across his face. But he did not have any fear. Although the opponent's spear technique was amazing, his own fist technique was not to be trifled with. Suddenly, the little girl on his back desperately twisted her body. Thinking clearly, Tang Tian's figure flashed and appeared beside the female guard. But the big man's face changed greatly. The big man did not know why, but his mind involuntarily came up with this word. This guy wearing a funny panda mask actually made him feel this way. Tang Tian's heart was incomparably proud at this moment. As long as he brought these people deep into the forest, even if they wanted to leave without spending a few days, it would be impossible to get out. The corner of his mouth floated an undetectable smile. The 5 fingers on his right hand that was placed at the end of the spear rubbed. The spear in his hand shook into a circle. The cold aura that blossomed in the sky suddenly disappeared. When the female guard suddenly felt that the power coming from the tip of the sword was not right, it was already too late. This sudden burst of power caused her sword tip to shake. The middle door was wide open, and Tang Tian rushed into her bosom like lightning. She immediately noticed Tang Tian, who was wearing the orangutan mask, so when Tang Tian appeared beside her, she was not surprised at all. The sword in her hand trembled. 3 sword flowers blossomed and went straight for Tang Tian. The light in Ling Su's eyes increased. The opponent's strength instead further stimulated his fighting intent. His entire body seemed to be burning. Only his fingers were as cold as steel. Pressing forward. Bing's words were definitely not nonsense. In battle, Tang Tian would always display his battle intelligence that far exceeded normal people. After his intuition became sharp, this was especially scary. All the minute details would always be used by him. The big man was enraged. With a long whistle, he turned and pounced towards Ling Su. In that moment, he decided to snatch the little girl over. Although she had the protection of the armor, but Tang Tian's strength was too strong. Her body was in so much pain that she froze. Without any hesitation, the moment the carriage appeared, the first to move was Ling Su. The pink sword flowers were extremely cute, but at the moment they were filled with dense killing intent. But the pursuers behind obviously did not have any intention of giving up. They chased like crazy. Tang Tian carried the little girl, sprinting in the dense forest. The roars and footsteps behind him never stopped. This time Tang Tian also used all his strength. The complicated terrain of the dense forest gave him a huge help. His 18 times intuition allowed him to know in advance where there were obstacles, where there were dangers. Like a meteor crashing, the spear hit the carriage. The big man did not expect Ling Su to be so determined to escape. When he reacted, he was even more furious. Damn panda, you are dead today. Tang Tian in battle was scary. Ling Su did not care about his own battle results. According to his previous plan, without hesitation he fiercely rubbed the spear body. The spear body broke through the air outside the valley, his body as light as a feather stuck to the spear. The spear pierced towards the huge fist aura. Not good. This time Tang Tian was surprised. Such a precise elbow attack was definitely not casually used. This girl had learned close combat before. But Tang Tian's body was faster than his thoughts. Almost instinctively, his palm blocked the opponent's elbow attack, and at the same time his right fist struck her soft abdomen. In order to not let the opponent lose him, sometimes Tang Tian would even purposely stop and rest for a while. Fiercely stepping on the ground, his entire body soared into the air. In mid-air he rubbed his fingers. The spear suddenly flew out. This was his unique technique. All these techniques had one goal, which was to avoid his weak body. Very quickly, Tang Tian realized that the opponent could not catch up to him. The sharp whistling sound was like a tide. The momentum was terrifying. His palms clasped together. The flames at an astonishing speed continuously gathered and rotated on his fists. In the blink of an eye, it was the size of a wine jar. The tip of the spear lit up with a cold aura, even brighter than the most dazzling stars in the night sky. After experiencing the chamber of the 18 bronze figures, once Tang Tian fought, he would not hesitate to use any method. Any method that was effective would be used. He did not forget his own mission. To Tang Tian, the darkness had almost no effect. He did not rely on his eyes to avoid obstacles and dangers. But to other people, the darkness would cause the complicated terrain of the forest to become more dangerous and troublesome. They did not dare to increase their speed. One by one, figures flew out from the carriage that had lost control. The burly man screamed, his body extended like a big eagle spreading its wings. He pounced towards Ling Su. His body moved along with the spear, elegant like the wind. His hand took the opportunity to place on the back of the opponent's steel blade. The crane body energy was released. Facing the carriage that was flying at a low altitude, Ling Su's fighting spirit rose to the extreme. His orange eyes turned into a blazing flame, his blue hair fluttering recklessly. Tang Tian's hands trembled. A red fist aura the size of a wine jar flew out, and in mid-air with a terrifying whistling sound, it rushed towards Ling Su. The female guard panicked, suddenly released her sword and elbowed towards Tang Tian. The blade aura was like a white snake spitting out its tongue. In a blink of an eye, he flew more than 10 feet. Chapter 161. It's here. Suo Guang was the most familiar with the Black Mountain City, and pointed to the bustling Gu family that was decorated with lanterns and banners. She decided to go take a look later to see if anything happened to Tian and the rest. Bing, take care of her. Tang Tian threw the little girl to Bing, and without waiting for Bing to speak, he rushed out. Xianxia replied, go and find those 3 rascals. Xianxia was too lazy to talk nonsense. Hand over Tang Tian. Tang Tian was surprised and took out some water for the little girl. The little girl gulped down a few mouthfuls, then stopped and said unhappily, hey, quickly untie me. This made the little girl happy. I know you're still not letting go of me. Be careful and wait for me. Tang Tian put down the little girl on his back and took the handkerchief that was stuffed in her mouth. Xianxia's killing intent suddenly disappeared without a trace, as though nothing had happened, and chuckled. Seems like, old man, you misunderstood us. Since that's the case, let's wait for the deacon to come. Ling Su, who was not willing to admit defeat, suddenly flushed red. His eyes seemed to be burning with flames. He took a deep breath, his aura exploding. Go and die. When the 3 of them rushed over, there were sounds of intense fighting coming from ahead. Tang Tian and the other 2 were shocked, and immediately shot out like arrows. With that said, he flicked his finger and a star coin card was inserted into the ground beside Mu Lei. Xianxia also revealed a smile, but his eyes became even colder. Old Wu, go and knock on the door. The gorilla in front of him nodded. No. How can I? With Tian and Ling Su's temper, they would definitely rush out without thinking. The others all revealed mocking smiles. Mu Lei fell to the ground, his face pale and blood flowing from the corner of his mouth. He forced himself to stand up. Looking at Mu Lei's appearance, Gu Shue's tears almost fell down. She knew that this was not the time to cry, so she gritted her teeth and turned around to shout, Xianxia, what do you mean by that? Can the Su Shi group barge into my Gu clan? Of course I know. A ball of jet black fist aura shot out from his fist. Gu Shui could hardly believe her eyes. He was pleasantly surprised. Old man you. Screams and curses immediately rang out. The expressions of Unan and the others changed slightly. Only Xianxia remained calm. I didn't expect old man you to come so quickly. Why should I untie you? Tang Tian was baffled. A captive should have the awareness of being a captive. Xianxia's face darkened. Search. That's good. I believe Deacon Su will give this old man an explanation. Old man you saw Xianxia retreating and felt pleased. Who dares to cause trouble in the Gu clan? Mu Lei's figure appeared at the door. I want to drink water. The little girl was not afraid at all. For some reason, deep inside Tang Tian's body, there seemed to be a voice speaking to him. But just now, the burly man had used a powerful attack to suppress and exhaust his physical strength. His body finally collapsed at this moment. Do you know who I am? The little girl raised her head and asked Tang Tian proudly. Elder Yu was exceptionally shrewd and snorted coldly. We are here this time to see how your esteemed Su Shi group will carry out their missions. Wait. An old voice suddenly sounded out from behind. He had white hair and eyebrows. His face was rosy. His steps were steady. He had an imposing look. Everyone who came with him upon seeing the mess at the Gu clan's door, all of their faces turned ugly. Ling Su was in a difficult situation. The opponent obviously had the upper hand. His fists were ferocious. Every time he punched, a millstone-sized fist aura whistled through the air. His attacks were extremely fast. The entire sky was filled with millstone-sized fist auras. They whistled like rain, terrifying people's souls. The surrounding forest was in a mess. Dust flew everywhere. Every fist aura was like a millstone that was thrown by an ancient catapult. When it hit the ground, it would definitely cause soil to splatter. Tang Tian's attack caught Ling Su off guard. Ling Su's body was stiff like a wooden stake. He flipped in the air and flew towards Bing. The little girl's eyes were spewing fire. A captive should have the awareness of being a captive. Tang Tian felt that the little girl's brain was not good. Oh, even if it was him, if he was a captive, he would definitely not say such stupid words. But, like a shooting star, she fell from the sky and smashed heavily onto the Gu clan's door. If such a gaze could kill, Tang Tian would have died countless of times. The little girl struggled with all her might in Tang Tian's hands. Although the little girl's strength was negligible to Tang Tian, but Tang Tian still felt that it was troublesome. It would affect his movements. Tang Tian ignored the little girl's gaze. He was satisfied with his own skills. He even tried to toss the little girl up and down. Seeing that the little girl was like a wooden stake, he was finally satisfied. They are not here. Gu Shui forced himself to calm down. He shook his head. They left a few days ago. Ling Su's face turned white. The pursuers are gone. Tang Tian said to Bing. The vermilion door that had just been painted was instantly broken into pieces. Qi flowed everywhere. Qi waves wreaked havoc. The guards of the Gu clan nearby were swept away by the Qi waves. He was also curious about how long Tang Tian could last. Bing had already realized that Tang Tian's improvement in actual battles was much faster than training. Even though his training plan was outstanding, it could not be compared to actual battles. But she felt weird. Tian and the rest did not come out. Without saying a word, he found a few sturdy old vines and wrapped them around the little girl's body. Tang Tian completely ignored Ling Su, who was dancing behind him. He turned to look at the big man. Squinting his eyes, he said, "Sorry, I've changed people." Seeing this, Tang Tian was overwhelmed with shock. "Tian, you guys better not come out." Everyone shouted at Unan's ears. Unan laughed. Facing the Gu clan's door, he suddenly lowered his back into a horse stance. Clenching his fist, he rushed forward. Scram! Ling Su, who had been suppressed from start to finish, was already burning with anger. Tang Tian's words immediately made him furious. Without hesitation, he prepared to unleash his killing technique. His aura suddenly rose. Suddenly, his spine seemed to be stuck, completely not listening to him. You want to fight with me? He did not immediately let Ghost Claw make a move. Every battle to Tang Tian was a rare opportunity for him to fight. Haha. Now you can't move. From now on you're called Little Rattan Girl. He turned to look behind him. He felt weird. Why isn't he catching up? Isn't his speed a little too slow? The little girl was shocked to realize that the gorilla had actually stuffed the silk handkerchief back into her mouth. She struggled with all her might but could only let out whimpering sounds. This kind of person, if they were to attack a city, one person would be able to destroy the city walls. Unan and the other two wanted to move. Suddenly, 3 figures flew out from Old Man Yu's back. They appeared in front of Unan and the other two. Unan and the rest knew the 3 of them. Li Xe and Lu Qing Jitian. They were all famous experts. Bing was also confused. He looked at Little Rattan Girl in Tang Tian's hands. Why are you bringing her? Frem. Unan did not speak any nonsense. He punched out again. Tang Tian's mind was roused. He told them about what happened that day and his guesses. Bing also felt that it was reasonable. Oh, if it's like that, they will definitely catch up. Let's find Ling Su first. He's the most dangerous. The person chasing him is very powerful. Uncle Mu. Gu Shui panicked. Poof, a foot suddenly landed on his face. Gu Shui heaved a sigh of relief. She knew that Old Man Yu had ulterior motives. But to her, as long as Old Man Yu and the rest were around, Xianxia and the rest would not dare to act recklessly. With that, he turned and spoke to Gu Shui. Miss Gu, we like a quiet courtyard. Just now my subordinate was rash. He was too heavy-handed and injured your servant. It's a pity. Oh, here's the medical fee. The 4 of them swaggered into the Gu family. The 3 of them immediately rushed to the meeting point. Something was wrong. What do you mean? Gong Yishio chuckled. Just a greeting. Who knew that the Gu family's main door would be so weak? Gu Shui's face turned white. He suddenly understood. Xianxia and the rest's target was Tian. Xianxia's face darkened. His killing intent surged. Everyone's face changed. What are you doing? This is the Gu family. That's right. If we don't come faster, the Gu family will be destroyed. Old Man Yu's face darkened. His anger was so strong that everyone around him felt their bodies tighten. A pressure enveloped them. Gu Shui's face was pale. She stared at Xianxia. This brat. Unan laughed out loud. He was filled with disdain and contempt. What bullshit, Tianqing Mule. You're just so. You're the captive. And Bing's eyes were still on him. This tall and sturdy man, although his strength was outstanding, he was wide open. It was completely different from Tang Tian's close combat style. The little girl was about 7 or 8 years old. She had golden hair and black eyes. She was cute and adorable. She looked like a doll. There was no fear on her face. Instead, she was excited. Let me do it. Tang Tian, who was in the air, shouted at the top of his lungs. Old Man Yu did not have any fear in his eyes. His imposing manner was not at a disadvantage. Today, even if I have to risk my life, I will not let the Gu family be humiliated. Since when did the Su Shi group have the authority to search other people's houses? What a joke. Defeat him. Defeat him. As long as you defeat him, you can become stronger. Xianxia said indifferently. Unless Old Man Yu wants to stop my Su Shi group from carrying out our mission? Tang Tian decided to give up. He quickly found Bing and Ghost Claw. They were not injured at all. Seems like this young lady is not an ordinary person. She looks like she wants to do something big. Old Man Yu would definitely be overjoyed to see such a scene. Gong Yishio laughed. If we destroy Old Man Yu's place like this, won't he be so angry that he can't breathe? After waiting for 2 hours, there was still no sign of her. After a while, the young lady's entire body was wrapped tightly by the old vines. She was like a straight vine pole. Not only could she not move, she could not even bend her body. Seeing Tang Tian rushing out, Bing was moved. How long had it been, and this rascal had already grown to such a shocking level? Such an impatient rascal. Bing took the little vine girl with a helpless look. But he knew that he was not in a suitable state to fight. For the sake of disguise, he did not wear any mechanical weapons. Instead, he had become the weakest member. Anan laughed. He took a step forward. His mountain-like body immediately attracted the attention of others. Mulay's gaze was cold. Without hesitation, he punched out. The two fist auras collided. Mulay only felt an astonishing force. It was as if a heavy hammer had struck his chest. He spat out a mouthful of blood and fell into the courtyard. Hey, who are you? Chapter 162. Dang dang dang. With the continuous attacks, Tang Tian's physical strength and true power were depleting at an alarming rate. Attacking could take the initiative, but at the same time the consumption was higher. Defending was usually passive, but the consumption was much lower. The big-sized man roared, facing Tang Tian's power. He punched out. Every second was torturous. He knew the opponent's situation was not much better than his. The opponent's fist technique required space to execute, and in such a close-distance situation, there was no space and time for him to make a move. Tantue Blade's folding knife. And the figure that was like lightning roared, twisted his waist in mid-air and punched the air wall. How is that possible? Tang Tian seemed to have expected it and did not slow down at all. Just as he was about to crash into the fist aura, he suddenly lowered his body, and with a leap he slipped through the gap between the fist aura and the ground. In the moment he slipped through, Tang Tian's palms borrowed the momentum from the ground and increased his speed. Tang Tian grabbed hold of a life-saving straw, and in a moment he acutely grasped the key point. Tang Tian, who was in a horse stance, both his legs were like iron plows, fiercely plowing a 10-meter-long straight ditch on the ground. Shua. Tang Tian's eyes lit up with a cold aura, both his palms in front of his chest, one at the front and one at the back. His waist suddenly sank down. Bang. The excessive consumption of true power in his body produced emptiness and lack of strength. His throat felt like it was on fire. The air that he breathed was no longer able to give Tang Tian strength, and he relied on his strength to continue. The orangutan young man's strength was not much stronger than the panda young man, but his fighting style was too slippery, too unexpected. With the same 10 points of strength, the panda young man could at most use 10 points, but the brat in front of him could use 12 points. The big-sized man's fist borrowed the momentum and the strength of his entire body. In one hit, actually did not break through the opponent's defense. His first reaction was, how is that possible? His strategy was rather successful. The panda young man was on the brink of death, but he did not expect that halfway through, another orangutan young man would appear. When he heard the orangutan youth's confident declaration of war, he knew that it was another tough one. The high-frequency oscillation of true power spewed out from his fist. The oscillation was instantly transmitted to every corner of the air wall. Bang. A not loud sound, the air wall collapsed like an avalanche. Tang Tian's eyes flashed with ecstasy. This guy. Success. Fire tornado. Looked like a blade, but its power was surprisingly great and it was as fast as lightning. The man sized up Tang Tian. The gorilla mask covered Tang Tian's face, but based on Tang Tian's voice, he could easily tell that his opponent was very young. The panda boy he had just fought was also very young. Before he could finish speaking, his vision blurred, and the other party rushed towards him. How could he break through the enemy's defensive circle? How long had it been since he was in such a sorry state? What Tang Tian didn't know was that the man opposite him was even more shocked. He almost couldn't believe his eyes. A blurred figure, bringing along the sound of the wind, suddenly barged into his vision. It was the orangutan youth. The blood in the man's body was churning, but he didn't have time to think. The barbaric and terrifying orangutan's attacks were like a sudden storm, so concentrated that he couldn't open his eyes. Tang Tian was also suffering. He had persisted for a full 5 minutes of crazy attacks, 5 minutes of using all his strength to attack. The opponent actually did not move. Hua. Tang Tian's attacks did not relax at all. Even though it consumed a lot of energy, his attacks were still like a torrential downpour. Great Monument Palm, White Crane Vortex, Tantue Blade, one after another. His energy seemed to be endless. He wanted to increase the distance. He could already see that the orangutan youth's fighting style was completely different from the panda boy. The orangutan youth was more proficient in close combat. The reason why his attacks were unable to break through the defensive circle was because his attacks were outside the defensive circle. What if his attacks were inside the defensive circle? In his vision, a ball of fire was rapidly enlarging. This fist contained a vibrating force. Suddenly, from the corner of his eyes, he glanced at the little rattan girl in Bing's hands. His face changed, revealing his killing intent. His left fist brought along countless vibrations, imprinting on the defensive circle. The man's heart jumped, but he couldn't care about anything else. The orangutan youth's speed was extremely fast, and in a blink of an eye he was already in front of him. The man did not look down on the two of them because they were young. On the contrary, his face congealed. The panda boy's spear technique just now made him extremely shocked. If we were to say that he was slightly negligent and looked down on the carriage when it was destroyed, then after such a long stalemate he had no choice but to admit the panda boy's strength. Tang Tian did not relax at all. The experience in the chamber of the 18 bronze figures had deeply taught him that sometimes, victory and defeat were only a thin line apart. If you grab hold of an opportunity, you can win. If you miss an opportunity, you can lose. Tang Tian did not think so much. In battle, his body's instinctive reaction was always faster than his brain. His 18 times intuition at this time completely displayed its power. Just as the man was about to retreat, Tang Tian seemed to have expected it and followed up with another attack. With a step, his right calf in midair consecutively drew out 7 cold blade auras. Tang Tian instantly felt an intense pressure. The fiery red fist aura spun at high speed, bringing with it a whistling sound. Its power was terrifying. But at this time, the man did not have the time to sigh in admiration. In a moment of desperation, his left fist turned into a palm and suddenly struck out horizontally. The orangutan youth's proud voice instantly provoked the man. The man's eyes were filled with killing intent. The aura around his body suddenly exploded, and his speed did not decrease but instead increased. As long as the opponent has a chance to breathe, the opponent will regroup and your previous advantage will disappear. Tang Tian's eyes suddenly revealed a dazzling light. He suddenly bent down, his body sticking close to the man's defensive circle. He could only instinctively block. The man also knew that the air wall could not stop the orangutan youth, and at the same time he struck out with his palm, he retreated. But he knew that he needed to be more patient. This rascal's defense was really tight. It was definitely the tightest defense that Tang Tian had ever seen. The man used his true power to set up a thick spherical defensive circle without any blind spots. Every attack of Tang Tian's landed on the opponent's defensive circle. Other than draining the opponent's energy, it did not cause any substantial damage to the opponent. He suddenly exerted strength in his legs, his figure like lightning, pouncing straight towards Bing, who, a millstone-sized red fist aura with a terrifying power, appeared in front of Tang Tian in a flash. The millstone-sized fist aura blocked the man's vision. When Tang Tian drilled out like a ghost and pounced towards him like lightning, the man's face changed. From collapsing fist to concussion fist, Tang Tian's understanding of concussion far exceeded the average person. Such a tight defensive circle should be a type of defensive martial technique, able to form a perfect spherical defensive space. The man once again sized up the orangutan youth in front of him. The opponent was desperately swinging his arms, which made him feel slightly comforted. But this rascal's power was really strong. His previous guess was not wrong, the orangutan youth's power was not weaker than the panda youth. Concussion fist. The muscles on the man's body bulged, almost bursting out of his clothes. His right fist pulled back like pulling back an arrow. The fiery red fist aura instantly converged into a ball of fire whirlwind in his right fist. His battle experience was extremely plentiful. Upon exchanging blows, he realized that the panda youth's spear technique, the stronger the pressure, the greater the rebound force. So he used a relatively safe strategy, continuously pressuring but not overly pressuring, continuously draining the opponent's physical strength and true power. Wahaha, I was already prepared for this move of yours. Pu Piu Piu, who knew how many times his arms had been hit. He felt as though he was fighting with the strongest orangutan in history. It had boundless strength, agile movements, and an astonishing beast's intuition. An extremely congealed wall of air protected in front of him. Tang Tian did not dare to shift his gaze away from the opponent. He slowly spat out a mouthful of turbid air, his heart shivering. Such a strong power. After that hard hit, both of his arms were numb. The man knew that after seeing the young miss, his state of mind was unbalanced. A wrong choice caused him to reveal a flaw. And he had met a fellow who was extremely good at grasping opportunities, causing him to fall into a predicament. The man felt as though he was in a nightmare. There were a few times when he thought that the opponent was exhausted. He started to prepare for a counterattack, but the more violent attacks instantly extinguished his thoughts. Time continued to pass. In a daze, he had an illusion that the person in front of him was actually a robot orangutan. It never knew fatigue. All of you deserve to die. Tang Tian's concussion pattern, which had always been successful, only broke a small part of the opponent's defensive circle. This scene had happened many times before, but the man was always able to repair it before Tang Tian's next attack. But this time Tang Tian's right hand shot through the hole like lightning, grabbing onto the man's fist. Wait a minute, space. 7 consecutive clear sounds of impact. With every impact, the man's chi would surge. Tang Tian's original technique of releasing force was already becoming more and more proficient, completely fusing into his martial techniques, causing the power of his martial techniques to increase explosively. When you have the upper hand, you must not give the opponent any chance to catch a breath. The man's strength was not weak, but with such a concentrated attack, it did not give him any chance to catch a breath and adjust. 7 small knives, causing the man's hands to go soft. What was the background of these animal youths? The fire tornado collided head-on with Tang Tian's palms. Who exactly are you guys? The man decided to change tactics and said, "Do you know who we are?" The man suddenly had a bad premonition. Although he had dragged down the panda young man, but his own physical strength and true power were similarly exhausted. Suddenly, there was another orangutan young man who was not inferior to the panda young man. The opponent's fist energy was like a burning red drill. The moment it came into contact with Tang Tian's palms, an astonishing power instantly exploded. That's right, it was space. Its power was still astonishing and its attack was still so violent. Tang Tian felt his palms go numb. His palm technique was about to disperse. His heart shivered. He exerted strength from his waist, forcefully holding on. He did not relax his defense, but his legs were unable to stabilize his body. You're tuning in to the Zhou Xian's Legacy YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.